season with a 25K four-quarter pick'em. Pick 10 games curated by us every week straight up. And if your right picks were in first, the money is all yours. Pick on 1620thezone.com.
Come on, let's go!
Subscribe to our email for exclusive early access to get your picks in before anyone else. The 25K four-quarter pick'em. Powered by Dr. Justin Makovica with MD West One.
Thanks, Doc.
And Rib Shack.
Welcome to the Rib Shack.
And on 1620 The Zone. Your Omaha area forecast from the Godfather's Pizza Weather Center and KETV Newswatch 7.
Warm, breezy, and a little hazy again on Friday. Expect mostly to partly sunny skies with the southeast wind gusting up to 20 miles per hour. Highs in the mid-80s. I'm meteorologist Sean Everson from KETV Newswatch 7.
1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Pyramid Roofing Time-Saving Traffic Center. It's a steady feel-good Friday morning in the Omaha Metro. There's no accidents to report. Just a couple things to keep in mind. The on-ramp from northbound JFK to westbound I-80 is closed due to overnight work. This should open up in a bit. Also, there's minor delays on eastbound L between 36 and JFK. Like I said, everything else is smooth sailing. You shouldn't have to worry about anything at the moment, but if that changes, I'll keep you updated throughout the rest of the morning. Just be sure to buckle up and drive safe out there. I'm Joey Colbert.
This time-saving traffic was brought to you by Fernando's.
Reason number 49 to get your Fernando's fix during football season.
Pumpkin spice tacos? Don't bring your crazy around here.
For tailgates, watch parties, or just an ordinary Saturday, get your Fernando's fix. FernandosOmaha.com.
What's that old saying? When life gives you lemons, you add them to your Godfather's Pizza feast. Yeah, that's right. Build your own feast with my tangy lemon bar streusel for a limited time. Get any medium specialty pizza piled high with the best toppings, a medium one-topping pizza, and my delicious lemon bar streusel, bursting with bright lemon flavor. Order yours today. Godfather's Pizza. Do it.
Start your engines.
Joe's Indoor Karting in Council Bluffs is off the charts crazy. Joe's Karting is fast-paced, adrenaline-pumping, wheel-to-wheel racing action at over 40 miles per hour. The only speed restriction on these karts is how good you are. Joe's Karting is located just a couple of blocks north of Bass Pro Shop and directly east of AMC Theater in Council Bluffs, Iowa. Go watch a movie. Come race at Joe's. Planning a bachelor party, graduation party, or just a night out with friends? Go to Joe's. Remember, Joe's Karting is your place to race.
I'm Brett Lewis with NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network. Week 2 kicked off in Miami as the Bills beat the Dolphins 31-10. Buffalo's 5th straight win over the Dolphins. The Bills moved to 2-0. Miami falls to 1-1. For Buffalo, Josh Allen threw for 139 yards and a touchdown. James Cook had 3 touchdowns on the day. He ran for 78 yards and 2 scores and caught a 17-yard touchdown as well. Bad news, though, for the Bills. Linebacker Terrell Bernard left in the first quarter with a pectoral injury and did not return. Meanwhile, for Miami, Tua Tagovailoa left late in the third quarter with a concussion after taking a hit by Bills safety Damar Hamlin on a 4th down scramble. Tua threw 3 interceptions on the night, 2 in the first quarter, then a pick 6 to Jamarcus Ingram in the third. Tyreek Hill was held to just 24 receiving yards. Devon Achane was active despite an ankle injury. He had 165 total yards and caught a touchdown. This has been NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network.
1 in 4 Americans have a disability. I'm one of them. I'm also a working mom who cares deeply about making sure every child with a disability thrives by getting their access needs met. We've got a trusted ally by our side. Easter Seals provides children and families the foundation for lifelong success through early learning programs, skills training, and prep for college and career. That's my Easter Seals. Make it yours. Join us at easterseals.com.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers. So we build specially adapted homes at Homes for Our Troops. And thanks to our donors and supporters, this life-changing gift of freedom is provided mortgage-free to these veterans. But we need you to join us too in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes. and rebuild lives.
Texting enrolls you in a recurring automated marketing text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
The team's looking good this season.
I think so. Man, I miss playing football. Being young with unlimited energy to burn. Ever since I turned 40, I just can't find that fire I used to have.
Think you could be lower testosterone?
What do you mean?
All guys lose their edge when they turn 40. The body has less testosterone. That's why I take Nugenix Total T.
I've heard about Nugenix. That really works?
Since I started taking Nugenix, I'm lifting like when we played for Coach Carter. I feel more energized at work. It's even spiced up things between me and the missus.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles for people to try?
Yep, send a text. It's that easy.
Text GRIT to 42424 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T. It's the #1 selling testosterone boosting brand at GNC and Walmart. Do it now and they'll also send you a bottle of Nugenix Thermo X, their newest, most powerful fat burner ever, absolutely free. Text GRIT to 42424. That's GRIT to 42424.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Every great business started with an entrepreneur.
When you think about innovation, job creation, growth, it's entrepreneurs driving those things.
It takes courage to be an entrepreneur. Commitment.
How can you think bigger?
Successful entrepreneurs never stop learning, never stop growing.
And when you bring a bunch of entrepreneurs together in one place, good things happen.
Get your ticket to the Hustle Entrepreneurship Conference, October 9th. Go to hustleconference.com before tickets sell out.
News Talk 1290 Coil is your radio home for Omaha Storm Chasers baseball, proud AAA affiliate of the Kansas City Royals. Tune in to hear every pitch, every hit, and every out as the Chasers play at Warner Park and across the International League in 2024. With the voice of the Omaha Storm Chasers, Nick Batters, on News Talk 1290 Coil.
The Storm Chasers host Toledo at Warner Park tonight. First pitch scheduled for 6:35. And you can hear all of the action on your home for Storm Chasers baseball. 1290 Coil.
Husker Preview Friday is powered by McInnes Roofing and Sheet Metal. Looking for trusted experts to protect and enhance your home or business? We are McInnes, Nebraska and Iowa's go-to choice since 1981. For commercial or residential projects, trust McInnes Roofing and Sheet Metal. Visit McInnesInc.com today.
When you shop local, you help strengthen our community. So if you need roof repair, gutters, siding, even windows, call local Pyramid Contractors. They're the #1 roofer in Omaha for more than a dozen years. Let Pyramid Contractors come and give you a free estimate. Give them a call at 402-502-9300. That's 402-502-9300. Or visit them online at
PyramidRoof.com. Never settle for less.
1620 The Zone.
Say this is probably our best week of preparation, which, as I told them, actually doesn't mean anything. I mean, it means you have a chance now to play well. But I think it's been our best week of preparation of all 3 weeks. And I think it's for a couple reasons. Number one, you have tangible things through 2 games now to look at and say, okay, I need to fix this. Before that, you're just kind of like waiting to see what's not broken or what's best or And then you have a bunch of players, on the scout team saying like, hey, hey, they just moved up Kenneth Williams to do something, or they just moved this guy up. Hey, maybe if I keep doing something, maybe I'll have a chance. So I think you see some of those guys watching other guys get attention and watching other guys get opportunities, and so they're practicing at a really high level. And then I think you have a couple difference-making players. You have Jalen Gramstad running the offensive look team. He's just a baller, so it helps. But I want to make sure I make the point. A great week of practice does nothing for you in the game other than give you an opportunity. So you have to go play.
Live from 50th and Capitol Avenue in the Big O. This is Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone, 1620thezone.com, and 1620 The Zone TV. Now here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy.
Hey guys, great to see you. Hey, good seeing you last night, Coach, at Omaha Northwest High School. I wish you would have finished his press availability yesterday. Said, Northern Iowa, we're about to roll your ass. Game time. Lincoln, Nebraska, tomorrow night. Be there. Nebraska, Northern Iowa. Good morning, everybody.
You've got a voice.
Hated rivals.
It's almost the NFL Films Northern Iowa.
Coming
They
into
began in
Lincoln.
the autumn of 2024.
You're about to get rolled.
This game needs a hype man.
Handley Bowl 2024.
You know, ESPN's FPI gives Nebraska a 95% chance of winning tomorrow night.
Which is up from Saturday, by the way. It was 87.
But I look at the other way. Life has changed me. There's a 5% chance that you could lose to a solid football team. Well, let's be honest. That ain't happening.
Is that a half empty or half full type approach there?
I don't know. I don't know. You're going to battle with 95. I'm going with 5. I kind of like your chances a little bit better than mine.
Yeah. When
All right.
they say it's a 95% chance of rain, I'm assuming it's going to rain as opposed to a 5% chance that it's not going to rain. Yeah.
All right. Welcome in, everybody, to Football Friday Fiesta. I just realized something. Holy cow.
You're very festive today, by the way.
Yes, I am.
You're very festive.
Warm day?
So I'm in between of the wardrobe because we got laundry going on. And late night last night, did not get to take stuff out of the dryer. So we went deep into the closet this morning.
It's very orange, very citrus.
Yes,
Down the bench.
Yes.
Time to step
Rocky
up.
Top, you'll always.
Yeah.
I
didn't know. I mean, I know you're high on Tennessee, but man, you're taking it to another level right now.
But you know what today is?
Yeah, it's Friday the 13th.
Yes. I
wore black too. I don't know why I did that.
That just dawned on me when I was coming in and I turned off my car and it gives you the, what date it is.
Yeah.
It's Friday the 13th.
You're damn right.
Whoa.
So
why are we doing a show?
I don't know.
Should be staying inside. We should draw the blinds and act like Jimmy on a normal day.
Yeah,
exactly.
My brother sent out a text last
Next
night
Howard
that said,
Hughes.
it's Friday the 13th tomorrow. Make sure to leave out cookies and milk for Jason tonight.
Your brother's a
Spicoli?
funny guy.
Isn't he? See? Yeah, I know, right there.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, I think I just blew my appendix out. Just kidding.
Hey, he's older, okay? Sometimes those jokes hit better.
Hey, Nick, old people can be funny.
I know.
I think
He's
I'm
in his
funny.
50s, damn it.
Dad joke Friday.
I'm 50.
I bet he was
and
knee
I'm
slapping.
Funny.
He was knee slapping.
Oh, my gosh. What in the heck am I dealing with today?
I woke up a little
slapping?
Well, I woke up a little earlier today. I'm trying to.
Are we going to go to the Cracker Barrel a little bit later there, Nicholas?
Could we?
Hell,
I have not been to the Cracker
I got
Barrel
a
for a
busy
very
day.
long
Can't
time.
do it.
No.
I got podcast duties.
Oh, how many pods do you got today?
Just got one pod.
Oh, just one? Okay.
Yeah.
Are you on a Northern Iowa one too? A preview?
Yeah. No one. Let's be honest. Nobody wants to listen to a Northern Iowa preview. They just want all the stuff from the Colorado game.
Yeah, that's true.
Which I think
Still lingering.
I don't know what the tunnel walk will look like, but you know what a recruiting film for Nebraska football moving forward should look like? They should include Travis Hunter and Warren Sapp's comments about the atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
So Travis Hunter the other day made his comments known about the atmosphere and that they got punched in the mouth. Warren Sapp, who I'm okay on Warren Sapp.
Yeah.
I think this is going to work out. I told you that last week. I listened to his weekly podcast, and he's very likable. So he does his on Thursday. I don't know if it was before or after the Morgan Mindy incident inside of Folsom Field that happened last
You're
night.
right. That's where we are as a program right now for
Warren
Colorado.
Sapp, he was like, that atmosphere was a banger. And he gave full credit to Nebraska. And you know what? He might have hinted that Nebraska defensively was pretty good. But they should include both of those from two recognizable people in their recruiting film or for the tunnel walk Saturday night. Would that be like to wrap up CU Troll Week? Would that be the ultimate that Nebraska includes in their tunnel walk praise from two of the bigger names in the Colorado football
Just
program?
the soundbite of I got to give them a lot of love. They're doing it right, or something like that. I might be paraphrasing.
Boy,
that,
they
but
like that
get
light
in
show. Hey,
Yeah.
light show people. Light show people for Saturday night. If you let us down, there are going to be some speaks. There are going to be a lot of new people in the stadium like yourself and your 9 people that you're bringing.
Yeah.
What do we have? Still at 9?
Yeah.
Renting one of those vans?
The one person that was on the fence, they did give us the confirmation that they will be.
Why
there.
were they on the fence?
Yeah.
I think they had child care
okay. That's
issues.
fair.
Child care
That's fair.
issues, yes.
5-pound bag of food, big
but
ball of water.
Hey, you know what they should do? Don't they still have the program where they have daycare in the Cook Pavilion where you can drop your kid off? Yeah.
That was a thing?
No,
Yeah,
no,
it
is.
was. I
It
do
is.
remember that.
It's pretty cool.
I could get.
Wasn't that a very long time ago, though?
No.
This was recent?
So Severe and I used to go to the games together, and I would ride with the family. It was quite entertaining.
Uncle Gary.
But his 2 boys he would bring when they were a little bit younger.
Yeah.
And with his wife Chris, we'd go over to Cook Pavilion. He would drop off his kids, and then
Yeah.
we'd go over to the stadium. And it was a really cool deal. Like they would play games, they had the game on. I don't know if they still have it, but it was a really
I like this.
It's a great idea of people that, their kids might be a little bit too young to go to the game, or they're not going to enjoy it, so you don't want to waste $60 on a ticket.
Yeah.
But they're close where you can go to the game, drop them off, they can have a good time, hang out with other kids, and then after the game you go and pick them up. I don't know for a fact that they still have that, but it was a really cool program. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah. It is, because there's a lot of people listening right now that understand when you have kids at a certain age, you get them into certain stadiums. And that's the other part about it is the stadium itself. Because if you get into the areas, the newer stadiums where you have the 360, the open concourse and stuff, you can walk around a little bit and you can keep them, somewhat occupied, because the attention span's like 10 seconds, if even that's actually probably generous. But when you're confined into the smaller spaces and you don't have a lot of that opportunity to get up and move around, and then you're I know I would be a little worried about people around us. Like, come on, man.
You're not bringing your son, are you?
No, we're not. He's staying with the other Unc.
You want him to come hang out with me?
This would be great content.
Can I just drop? So instead of the daycare, can I just drop him off the press box? You can sit right next to you and just
Uncle Gary chasing
ask
Reese.
for football pearls.
Sure.
Good Lord, what he'll come back saying though. He's he absorbs like a sponge now.
Don't swear.
Okay.
I will not be.
He's going to be.
I will not have a.
I want to see this.
I will not have as entertaining a lead up as I had last week. Like I'm thinking, could I leave Omaha at like 3:30 tomorrow and get?
Oh yeah.
Because I don't like to be rushed going into the stadium. I like to say hello to Judy at the front gate, have a conversation with her, talk to people. But could I leave it like at 3:30 and I'd be fine?
Oh God,
I think so.
Yeah,
I would ask you.
Because I don't know. I think it might be subdued. People might surprise me.
We're going a little earlier just because we want
Nebraska.
We want to do we want to hit a few breweries and then hit a couple tailgates we're going to before we set foot. So it's going to be a long day.
Yeah.
Make sure you stop at Bed Bath & Beyond before we get all that taken care of.
Nice little Saturday, really. I'm just curious, like if
Olive Garden has a good Saturday special. It's double breadsticks.
Maybe she's
More carbs?
wearing something that I've never even heard of.
Really?
You brought up the Olive Garden, and I believe we're quoting old school right now.
Yeah, but I would think you're an active young spry man.
No.
You've seen that before. If you haven't, Jimmy will draw you a picture.
Maybe they're silk. No,
I'll sing the Cisco song to you.
We could throw on the Cisco song. I don't know. I was thinking we could get together, maybe put on the old Cisco song, and
a fun night.
Not you and I together.
No.
Well, you got babysitting duties. So
because I want to see if Reese will come back and be like, he'd just be saying a lot of cooking with peanut oil.
My son's cooking Legos with peanut oil.
He starts
now.
saying milk a lot. Like, when the hell did you start saying milk?
Come
on, man.
Well played.
Come on, man.
All right, welcome everybody. We're off and running a Football Friday Fiesta. Brett Ciancia, Lee Sterling, Mike Schaefer, Matt Verzal, Alden join us. The lineup brought to you by the Roof Rees at John Higgins Weather Guard ahead of Nebraska, Northern Iowa. Football got underway last night. We had chess versus checkers in Miami, and we had a concussion. I imagine there will be a lot of NARPs and jabronis that are on the radio this morning and this midday and this afternoon, not on this radio station. I have a lot of respect for the people that come after us, but probably other radio stations where they will tell you that after never playing that Tua should immediately retire after another concussion, his third since 2022. It happened last night in a game in which it is chess versus checkers when McDaniel goes up against McDermott. Good call on your part, Nick. The Bills crushed the Dolphins last night, but all the attention is on Tua, who suffered another concussion. It was uncomfortable seeing him come off the field. Sometimes we're just in it for the gladiators, and we just want people to just beat the living crap out of each other, and we only care for him as a number. This situation, when you see a guy like that and you kind of know his backstory and you kind of you root for him. I'm not a Dolphins fan by any means, but I root for him.
He's a good dude.
You worry for a player, but there'll be some interesting discussions that will go on for Tua and where the Dolphins go as a franchise from here, because boy, they got dominated last night.
Yep. I'll give you credit though, because you asked a question that was pretty evident in aiding Josh Allen yesterday.
Ooh.
And that was, can you imagine if Buffalo had a rushing attack? We
Thurman
talked about
Thomas?
that. And the fact that you had combined carries that were more than what Josh Allen was attempting in the passing game, and the fact that Josh Allen was on the low end of those carries too, did not actually have a real designed run.
Did he throw for 139? They won handily.
Yeah.
My fantasy stats confirmed that.
Their defense was pretty good. Now, McDaniel, I have no idea what his high school plan was last night. I think I watched a high school game where the offensive coordinator had a better game plan. But that Bills defense was pretty good. Yeah, they won a division game against a team that a lot of people think highly of, and he threw for 139.
Yeah, and that was there was the defensive part of it, and obviously before Tua goes down, that pick six was really, really bad. That was the sealer.
Yeah, the bad decision to not learn how to slide, but bad decision making by the quarterback of the Dolphins last night, and it did not help that his head coach, who I think on game days against really good teams,
he gets exposed.
I think his quarterback is the same way. There's tiers. There's like you're a gooder tier, but then there's that great tier. And I think Tua is sitting at the gooder, and I think Mike McDaniel is at the gooder.
I like that.
And when they play great teams, they get exposed.
It reminds me a lot of Sean McVay, in game versus offensive expertise, because this goes back to my obsession with watching that team when they had Jared Goff because of the talent that they had around, but the holding the hand of Jared Goff, the McVay hype train that would be, you remember the press conferences leading up to the weekend, he'd have this elephant brain memory of everything that was happening. And no one would ever question his ability to look at film, to have schemes, have schematics, but then when it got into the game and things are happening and defenses are throwing things at you, that you're not in the moment as much as you are in the preparation leading up to the week. And I think there's always those offensive guys that are going to be associated with that quarterback that is, I don't mind calling it a crutch. I thought Jared Goff had Sean McVay as a crutch in LA, and that's why I'm happy to see what he's doing in Detroit. I think Tua has McDaniel as somewhat of a crutch, that you get away from the communication. Defenses throw different things at you, and all of a sudden you're second guessing, you're hesitating. I'm just Tua. If you would have told me this, if you had told me Tua in the first or second series was concussed or had a shot and was continuing to play, that's how his decision making looked. He looked like he was a step slower. He looked like everything he was doing was just sloppy, and so
they got exposed. I mean, there's no other way around it. They wore their throwbacks. They allowed their fans to paint their faces and get all excited. I think there's nothing more depressing in sports to get all excited about your team and you dress up in your gear and you go a step further, like you paint your body and you paint your face, and then your team lets you down. How depressing is that?
Yeah, and then you got to go home with that. Yeah, you got to go home with that, and you're like,
painting your face in Miami is a choice.
Like if I was dealing coke in Miami today, I'd take the day off because my fins look like that last night. But back to your point about Mike McDaniel. So this is the difference.
Nice time.
I mean, the sport of football is pretty honest. Like it exposes people and players. Is Mike McDaniel to me, and he's quirky. And when you don't win primetime games, people are like, you know what? You can't always look like that. You know, I don't care if you look like the guy from The Mask. If you can perform on Saturday or on Sundays, you're fine. But Mike McDaniel, I think, is a great offensive mind. I think he's a really good offensive mind.
Agreed.
On game day, he's average. Where have you heard that before? I think that's what Mike McDaniel is. And when you go up against a solid, I don't think great, but a solid football coach in Sean McDermott, you get exposed. And that's been a trend for the Dolphins. And last night, I mean, I thought the Dolphins would win. You picked the Bills. Good job. I got the under. But the Bills won a football game on the road in the division where their star quarterback 139.
Yeah. He didn't have to. If you would have told me 31-10 Buffalo, I would have thought Josh Allen's numbers are incredible. I would have thought he probably would have had a couple scheduled runs. He's thrown for at least 250. We talked about yesterday when you brought up the overall ability to run the football. And it wasn't like they were dominant, but the fact that they showed it too, and then as a fantasy owner of James Cook, I was very happy. But James Cook was obviously a big part of what they were doing, rushing and receiving the football too. That to me, it was just kind of, it was a physical style that if Buffalo shows that more and you're not relying on Josh Allen to be a part of that, that's huge for them.
See, I think the Bills, when they're firing on all cylinders, are one of the best teams in football, but they have too many average performances. But one key, man, if Von Miller is healthy, I still like watching him play. He's a terror. But back to Tua. So it was a double loss last night for the Finns, and there's no way they can move through the season with Skylar Thompson. Now, I think Tua will come back. I mean, I actually, if I was Stephen Ross, you know who the tires I would kick this morning?
Just Fiedler?
Just to say, Tom Brady. I would say, we tried one time.
Yeah.
Would there, or Ryan Tannehill. But again, I think Tua will come back, but how long will it be before he comes back? Now, again, there's going to be a lot of people that know nothing that will have hot takes on what he should do. My question with him is, who makes the call on to save him from himself? And I'm not necessarily saying, all right, think about your future life when you get concussed like that. And there's a reason for him to come back. There's $212 million out there. You can say, oh, no, he's set. My man, my woman, my child, $212 million is out there. It's $212 million. But I think before they can talk about coming back from a concussion and what his football life moves forward is they have got to teach him how to protect himself. You got to slide, man. You got to Willie Mays Hayes. You got to slide.
Yeah.
Because
get the slip and slide out.
You look at this. Two of the greatest quarterbacks in recent memory, one of the very sneaky things that they did so well is they learned how to protect themselves. Tom Brady, Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
Long career in the
Slow
NFL.
dudes, too. Slow dudes.
Okay. Football is a violent sport. But if you don't learn how to protect yourself, you are setting yourself up for, ironically, I don't know if that's the right word, and I apologize if it's not, DeMar Hamlin hitting Tua last night.
Yeah.
He's got to learn how to protect himself. I still think that he comes back. Is it going to be in 4 weeks? Is it going to be in 2 months? But it was scary last night, and those are going to be probably some uncomfortable conversations moving forward about what his future in football looks like. But I'm in no way a person that says, well, should retire. I never played the game. That's his call to make with the facts that will be at his disposal. But remember, he's a competitor, and there's $212 million out there.
Right, for all those reasons, too. But I also think that a lot of people assume when you have multiple concussions in a span of a still relatively short pro career that the writing's on the wall, that's just going to be a part of it, and you got to decide on how much you want to endure for your long-term health. The evaluations that go into it now, the science that go into it now, the medical personnel that's on the sideline now and that's in those organizations now compared to, hell, even 10 years ago is so much greater that you're going to, because I would agree with you, I think Tua will move forward and still play this game, that you would have a lot of different resources on. Well, probably the most important point you bring up there is being able to protect yourself. When you're seeing a guy slide headfirst or even try to attempt to slide headfirst, that is a recipe for disaster. But also, if you've noticed some of the more brutal ones that he's had, I mean, we all remember the one where he kind of lands on his back and then the head follows pretty violently on the back, and then he gets up and he's wobbling around. Like that's a tough thing to watch.
He couldn't go outside for longest time now. Weird. That happened in 22. 23 comes back. He got paid off of 23. I don't know. I worry for a player. He's got to make a call. But he got to learn how to protect himself. And maybe it is this. Maybe we have something for the first time with a quarterback. Would it shock you if he was the first quarterback to wear a Guardian cap? You know, the big thing that goes on top of the helmet. Now, it does not eliminate concussions.
Right.
But if a guy can't protect himself and he's a quarterback and the league tries to protect the quarterbacks and the quarterback can't protect himself, I mean, is that a next
the easy answer is yes.
layer of okay,
somebody's got to try it.
Last resource here.
Right. And I know that even that discussion in the offseason, because it was talked about a lot, because you see it all, I mean, pretty much, well, every NFL team and most college teams use it in their camps, that some are like, no way, no how, but others are like, I'd be open to it. And I think you have players that are into a situation that if that is going to soften any type of blow, because I go back to the ones where it's body then head, where the back of the head comes down, if that's going to reduce any type of impact whatsoever. But and this goes back to, you talking about sliding too, of those types of hits that you take. Some of those ones you can't control when you're dropped on your back and then all of a sudden the head falls. But this is where I go to the meticulous resources that you have when it does come to protecting between sliding and even when you do, say, get blindsided or you're blown back a little bit. Do you have that ability to fall on your side as opposed to, that impact takes you straight back and then the head's following it? Are there ways? Because I would think that you're going to have a lot of time to evaluate every little thing that you do, from taking hits that are unexpected or anticipated hits, and how you fall essentially, between sliding, but also how you fall on your side as opposed to on the backside or going forward like that. So all of those parts of protecting him, I think, are going to be on the table. Now, here's the other thing though, that I always worry about is you can do all of those things at half speed or in any type of practice or simulation type environment. But when you get in the game, do old instincts kick back in? That's the other thing too.
Well, I don't think you never change that. That you're a competitor.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's why who protects him, who helps him, who makes that decision. It's not our decision to say, hey, man, you should retire. How do you help Tua save himself from himself?
Yeah. And
because people are getting at me right now. That money is a big deal. That's a lot of money. He's gotten some money, and this year was guaranteed. But there's a lot of money out there. There's a lot of money to come back. And a guy that wants to play the game of football, but they got to teach him how to play football right. Again, Brady and Manning played a long time, took big hits. Manning more than Brady. And they both hung around because they learned how to protect themselves. Mahomes has done that as well. Mahomes protects himself when he is out there and he is a sitting target.
Yeah.
But at the end of the night, the Bills dominated the Dolphins. It was an impressive performance, and it was a bad performance by the Dolphins. You have 3 timeouts, you have the ball at midfield, you're in the 2-minute, and you end up with a field goal, and you have those kind of wide receivers. I don't know. Miami also, last night, exposed, and maybe it's a Miami thing. You got to play Miami Vice. Okay, Miami Vice is not, let's squeeze them and play great defense and let's win 14-10 Big Ten West games. It's like, hey, let's be flash and dash.
That's checkmate.
So instead of when you need offensive linemen in the offseason, you go out and you say, hey, no, let's get wide receivers. And then last night when you were against a better team and a better coach team, those things rear its ugly head again, and that's a Miami problem. Also, how long did you guys stick around? I was catching up on the Amazon game. By the way, Shaquille O'Neal was doing the game last night on Amazon. Remember when Shaquille O'Neal went to the Celtics and he was just hanging on?
Yeah.
Yeah. That version was doing the game for Amazon. Name's Al Michaels. He's 79.
I was wondering if that's what you were getting at.
So
I was with you.
I was doing the North Central game. So yeah. I was watching, and then I caught up when I got home. But how long did you guys stick around on the NFL game before you bailed to go to San Marcos?
I did.
I stayed in San Marcos all night.
San Marcos, I got to that one a little late to see their last-ditch effort come to an end. So, unfortunately, I did not see that.
Great game. Hey, why was Arizona State playing there? I say that every week. But Texas State, man.
It is a nice stadium. They're done with Bobcat Stadium.
They got a vibe. But Arizona State's 3-0. That could be kind of interesting. Kenny Dillingham may have turned things around. Because weren't they projected to be in the bottom of the Big 12?
Yeah.
Everyone wrote them off.
Yeah. And we get less Thursday college football games because they go into the fetal position against the NFL. But when we do, doesn't it seem like the Thursday college football game is better than the NFL game?
Always. I was excited.
And that was always typically the case, too, because you would get some really bad NFL games. And last night, at least the matchup seemed between Miami and Buffalo was going to be a good one. Obviously, the result didn't turn out that way. But I got to give you guys credit, too, because between both of you, You expected this one to be a good game, the Arizona State Texas State game. So yeah, I was coming into that thing as I'm like, oh crap, Texas State has the ball. I got to get back to this thing. And then as I turn on, they fail.
Well, like football coaches, sometimes on the show we have poor clock management. So
G.J. Kinney,
I got this thing in my head. I got to take a break here. We have lots to discuss. We'll talk about Nebraska, Northern Iowa, the weekend in college football. I'm struggling to find a game of the week. I know they're going to hype out what's going on in Madison. I'm struggling to find a game of the week in week 3.
Colorado State.
Mm-hmm.
But is it truly a game of the week?
No.
I'm just there for the drama.
Yeah, it's intriguing from the standpoint of how will Colorado respond because it's still a thing. They're still.
I'm fully engaged. I got a thought on that game. But like the true game of the week, does it exist in week 3?
No,
I wouldn't.
It should have been Alabama, Wisconsin, but
yeah.
Just give me good football. Give me a sneaky good football day.
Are people going to be rooting for Wisconsin because it's Big Ten against SEC? Go Wisconsin!
I think they will actually.
Wisconsin, Badgers.
I think they will. I think there will be a little bit of Wisconsin, like a little Big Ten pride for once, because Alabama's actually coming to the Big Ten venue there as well, and they'll experience jump around and all of that fun stuff.
Matt Rule and Dion will be rooting for Luke Fickell.
Will there be people at that new Big Ten bar in downtown Lincoln? They'll be packing up, packing in.
They all got the Big Ten shirts and hats.
Battle me. That's a sin. Go Badgers! I won't ever slack up, punk ya. Better back up. You got that, Saban. Try and play your role, you hoe. I guess it's not hoe, it's yo. There's a difference. Sorry out there. If you're a hoe and I called you a yo, apologies. And also, if you are a yo and I called you a hoe, apologies. I don't know. Are people going to be like, go Big Ten, go?
Yeah.
Like the little dolls, go Big Ten. People on TV are going, what in the hell is going on this morning? Go Big Ten.
GBT.
Go Big Ten.
Yeah.
Go Big Ten.
Getting the shirts,
sing
the
commercial song during break.
Silver lining.
I'm only rooting for discussion in that game about Hunter Wooler's neck.
Excuse me,
Nick. In real time, Google him. Do it on Twitter.
Okay,
because he was on the Big Ten Network and did an interview.
Okay,
and I want you guys in real time your reaction when you see the neck of Hunter Wooler, one of the best players for Wisconsin.
Oh my!
Oh,
that's a Spielman neck. That's Wisconsin.
Hey,
does it have its own Twitter account?
I said, "Mugs, let the funk flow."
Good Lord!
Someone's talking junk and they're not in Boulder. Yeah, I
can't stop looking at it.
That's what she said.
It's so. This
Carrie
is
says,
when you know.
How about BC Mizzou? Yeah, sneaky good game. I could get behind that.
Let's go, Bill O'Brien.
So when you know you have something good going on with your shoulder and above workout is when the neck is wider than the frame of your face.
He's done a good job.
Dude, remember Nebraska had necks like that?
Mm-hmm.
Like if Nebraska...
Well, someone honked.
Oh, I thought someone said hello.
Oh,
I thought I heard a honk too.
I don't have to climb to the second level at this building. Wow. Nebraska's back when we start to see necks like that, when people don't have necks. I shouldn't be saying he's got a neck. He got no neck.
Is he okay? Is it inflamed?
Yeah.
It looks like it's like swollen.
Dude, Hunter Wooler from Wisconsin is cock diesel.
Jesus.
Oh yeah, there's other pictures. I mean, he backs it up.
Let's just say he is not full-time cardio. He may lift a weight or two.
Can you turn your head?
No. Will Wisconsin do enough to cover? Spread is 16.5. We will dive into that. When we come back, Matt Rule was in Omaha last night. The athletic director was in Omaha last night. How about that? And if Nebraska does Nebraska tomorrow night, because we all should do each other or ourselves. No,
self-care. Excuse me.
It is Friday.
Thank you.
Sorry. So everybody should take care of themselves and do self-care.
Oh, yeah.
But if Nebraska does Nebraska last night, what's the score? We'll share that throughout the show. Yeah. We're here till 10 for all of you on Friday the 13th. This is going to be your lucky day. Some say it's unlucky. I'm saying it's lucky. I'm going against the grain.
You know what? Black on. You should be good.
It's usually a good weird day on Friday the 13th. So yeah, I think
I'm gonna tell you that every day, Jimmy, is a weird day.
I mean,
nothing is normal anymore.
Ain't that?
And I'm here for it.
I just literally saw what popped up in the stream in your response.
Well played. Did he respond to?
Well played, sir. Well played.
Yeah. Derek would.
That's nice of him, though.
Derek,
thank you, Derek.
Derek wants to know if anybody wants to learn about Islam. Islam. Jesus.
Yeah.
I don't
okay.
start till 7. We can get a hold of Derek.
Yeah.
I said I'll get back to you.
Yeah. You're on the stream. He wants your email.
I kind of would like to talk about Northern Iowa and Nebraska. And also, we have competition. We've got a long snapper and a deep snapper competition.
You know, that
it
never gets run like a quarterback competition.
We are so back around here.
When that coach can't even pronounce his last name, and Mitch Sherman has to be like, I believe it's Fledge. Yeah, that's it.
Oh, Matty Rule.
Do you think he still has the piece of tape on the helmet?
Get that guy. What's a guy? Get in the game.
Fleegee?
Yeah, we have a long snapper and a deep snapper competition. We are so back around here. We're not talking about a quarterback fumbling the football. We're talking about just snapping the simple ball. It's a simple thing. You look between your legs and you zip it back there. All right, 41 past the hour. You can join the Friday football fiesta that may be off the chains. Hell, it's Northern Iowa week. Like we were dialed in last week for Colorado against the Panthers. We're all over the map.
Oh, hell yeah.
But that's okay because Nebraska's going to win 52-7. 951-1620. I was just throwing that out there. That's not my prediction.
It's not?
No, I might be, but it sounds like a good score, right?
I like that.
That sounds like a reasonable score against Northern Iowa, 52-7.
Yeah, that's not like, what are you guys smoking there?
Now, I'm not saying it. Others are saying it, 52-7.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. 402-951-1620. That is the 42 Degrees source by your mom's house. Hope your mom's doing well. You can also email us into the Equitable Bank inbox. Gary at 1620thezone.com.
Handley at 1620thezone.com.
They take banking personally. And if you go in there today, Doug will stop what he's doing and
shake your hand.
Now he's more of a fist bump guy.
I'm
fist bump.
Oh, okay.
Well, I dapped a lot of people last night over at Northwest.
Yeah.
Oh man. But there was also the, when you come in for the clap and then the hug.
Yeah.
But you don't keep the hands together. That's when I know I've reached a new status. Abdul Muhammad, man. I've known Abdul for a long time and great to see him smiling on the field. I walk out there for the game and we do that and I'm like, I've got a new status with Abdul. That's how I judge my friends now. Do they shake? Do they dap? Do they hug? Do they slap and then hug?
Do you get the hug?
Do they ignore me?
And then the post hug. Rule and Terrence Crawford had the hug and then the handshake, and then they both had it down to the point where sometimes you go twice and the other guy wants to go a third time, and then it gets awkward. They were in sync, man.
Yeah. Little tip here. Rule is can be awkward in the approach to what do you do with him.
What do you do with the hands?
Like he's got a variety of things he could do, and he's kind of in between.
You just don't
know.
And
you don't want to be the reason it's awkward.
Nebraska lost a recruit because he was in between. Kidding. Equitable Bank, where they take banking personally. Also on the J-Tech Construction Zone Twitter feed at Gary Sharp, 1620.
At Nick Handley, 1620.
We are off and running on a Football Friday fiesta. Nebraska and Northern Iowa. It's over in the non-con. It's on to the Big Ten after tomorrow night. Lots of angles on this one. And I got a statter. A statter that's going to blow you away.
I love it. I can't wait.
You like my stats?
I like when stats blow me away. I mean, there's your average stat, and you're like, okay, interesting. But when you're just like, whoa, mind blown. And it's not even 7 yet. Bring it on.
Still talking about San Marcos.
Hell of a town.
Mornings. Sharp and Handley and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone. Hey, how come USC always gets to go to Roncalli? They do have the banger of a concession stand.
I've been told.
Shout out Brian Ortner. Great football program over there. Also, new at Roncalli this year, they have turf.
Aren't they the last ones?
I got to be one of the last ones. Boy, that field was rough. But now they have turf over there at Roncalli. Great program. USC will be there today, and you get to hear radio people eat food on the air, which for my enjoyment,
Rating should be
that
through
is
the roof.
great content.
It is.
I'm going to eat this. You're just
Nick can do the hot dog thing again.
Or you're freaked out by a hot dog. Yeah, not you, but the other Nick.
Yeah,
so that's cool that USC is out there every year, and they'll be there today. Last night, interesting high school football around the area. First of all, over at Northwest High School at Niall Kinnick Stadium, Matt Rule and Terrence Knighton showed up to watch North and Central, the 80th edition of the Backyard Brawl.
Nice.
A shout out, Jason, listener who is the PA announcer for Omaha North football games.
All right.
Nice guy. Got great pipes.
Yeah.
But last night was kind of interesting. So North wins the game. Central has a load of talent, but once again, for the second time in 3 games this season, they are their own worst enemy. They had 20 penalties against Bellevue West. They were well into double figures last night against Omaha North. And it's okay to be frustrated. I imagine that coaching staff is pretty frustrated because they've got plenty of talent, but that's 2 games, 2 close games that they've lost, and really it's been because of penalties. But 2 really good high school quarterbacks last night. Mikey Gow, who is back in Nebraska. He was over at Bellevue East as a freshman and then went out of state for 2 years. He's back. He played really well last night, 3 touchdown passes, 268. And then BJ Newsom, I really like. Again, these are good high school quarterbacks. BJ is in his 3rd year as a starter, and he's only a junior. But Matt Rule and Terrence Knight were there. Tyson Terry, who is committed to Nebraska. And then Kylon Haney, who's a sophomore running back at Central. Then Torrey Pittman III, who is a sophomore defensive back, who I was talking to Schaefer last night. We'll talk to Schaefer at 9. Mike Schaefer was at the game last night, Nick. And 24/7 has Torrey Pittman III as the 15th overall player in the country.
Oh, wow.
Nebraska offered him as a 14-year-old.
Yeah.
I think he just gotten out of Buffett Middle when they offered him.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought that was the one who was offered in middle school.
Nebraska, Wisconsin, and USC have offered him. He made a hell of an interception last night right at the goal line that Schaefer told me that Rule was pretty excited about. But they were there to see those 2. There is Max Clark, who's a linebacker at North that has started to gain some interest. And then put this name on your radar. Again, if you've watched high school football in the area, the senior class, the guys that have already committed to Nebraska, and then a Chase Lofton and a Ziebert who are going elsewhere. It's a really good senior class in the Metro. Man, this town is loaded with sophomores and juniors, and Pittman and Haney are sophomores. Darion Jones, whose brother Donovan is a freshman defensive back in Nebraska, he's a junior at North. Put him on your radar. Kid's going to be a dude. And I imagine that his attention will really start to pick up. He was really good last night, but the talent in that game was at a high level. And then did you happen to see what Millard South did?
Yeah, I was reading about that last night too.
I thought that was supposed to be a close game.
Well, yeah, because the Kearney had the shutout streak going, and Millard South we'll put up another 50 spot. And you've seen. Have you? Did you do one of their games yet this year? I know you saw them in
Millard
practice.
South?
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Okay. Last year when I saw them against Gretna, you could tell and they didn't have Chase Lofton at the time as well, but a lot of people that I was talking to that have sons at Millard South, some of my old friends, were telling me a lot about Jet Tamal, and I'm watching him. You could tell, a guy can sling a little bit, but was a little more slight. I'm sure he's put on a little more weight now too, and Miller and just a lot of different guys that offensively you could see. Okay, they're kind of fun to watch, and I just got to see him in that game. Watching what they're doing right now, because I don't know. Again, this is where a little bit more about how Millard West is this year. But when I know a Kirk Peterson team, he's a defensive-minded guy, and even when he has a team that is maybe a little bit down compared to other years, that's usually a pretty assignment sound football team with his structure and what he's done for years. When I saw them do what they did to Millard West last week, as far as the offense that they put up, and then you brought up Kearney, which Kearney's always had a reputation being very physical. Again, kind of similar.
They haven't given up any points in 2 games.
Right.
They gave up 52 last night to Millard South. They could be 52-3.
Like that's pretty impressive.
Well, so and Millard West tonight has West Side. So back to the young talent that's in the area. Steve Warren's son Braylon is the quarterback at West Side. Man, he's off to a great start. The young talent in this city, and I saw 2 OPS teams last night, but the whole metro area.
Mm-hmm.
The Nebraska has put up a wall around this city, and they're using Damon, they're using Abdul, they're using Steve, they're using people that have connections that work with these young kids round the clock to help them and say, hey, should this kid get an offer? And Nebraska and Rule has relied on these guys. Hey, what do you see?
Yeah.
And so Nebraska's been very aggressive in Omaha. Man, they're going to make a living here because with Millard South's team, they're young. I mean, Tomlin's only a junior, but I think it's at this point because they've outscored the Millard West and now Kearney 108-3. It's at this point, and I'm not afraid to say this because they're built differently and they're scary. Is who's going to play them in the final, and then who can beat them? You know, I think. Watching last night's game, and then you look at what's going on in Lincoln, and then Kearney comes in here, and Kearney's a good football team. Millard South is on a whole different level. I mean, Kearney may have never ever in their history lost 52-3.
Yeah.
But what it shows in this state with high school football, there is in Class A this year, there are very few that are at the top. Then there's kind of a middle class, and then there's a long drop off. Boys basketball this winter is going to be the same way. It's going to be a couple of teams top heavy, middling, and then a huge drop off. But watching the game I had, seeing what Millard South did, and then knowing what's in Lincoln and hearing from people that are involved in Lincoln high school football, the gap between the football in Class A and even in Class B. I mean, Class B football in the Metro is really good as well. The gap is ginormous. I don't know how Lincoln and the rest of the state makes any inroads with the high school football that's being played in this area because I just don't see it, and I don't see it this year. I don't see it in the next couple of years.
Well, and I would ask you this question: how much of that has to do with seeing a lot of kids starting to transfer now too, where you're?
Well, I mean that's a good point because there are some kids that would be in Lincoln, that have transferred to Omaha. Yeah. But I just think we approach it differently here, man. It's a job.
Yeah.
It's a 24/7 thing now. It's year round in this area with high school football because what is at the end of the rainbow? And I'm focusing on a couple of guys that are going to Nebraska or being looked at by Nebraska.
Yeah.
But I watched last night. Isaac Ackerman that plays for Central, I think is one of the better players in the Metro. He's going to Northwest Missouri State. I got to think somebody slides in there. They got Elijah Wayne who's going to South Dakota State. I'm going to see a guy tonight. We have Millard North and Papio South over on Cox. Vermas and Newberry and Rayburg play for Millard North. And then you've got Casey Popich, who is going to Northern Illinois, who I really like. So the thing at the end of the rainbow is a scholarship to play college football. And I think that drives in the area, in the Omaha Council Bluffs area, because Lewis Central, hasn't missed a beat. I just think that gap is growing day by day. We talk about the gap we talked about yesterday, the gap between OPS and the rest of the city. The gap between Omaha high school football and the rest of the state is just, it seems like every Friday night it gets longer and longer and longer away from each other.
It's interesting too, because I know some of these athletes you're going to see, Tyson Terry in wrestling, you're going to see other players that are multi-sport athletes, which I still think you talk to any college football coach, they're going to say they really covet that part of it's big because they're constantly in competition. But I've always been blown away. And this was something that when I first started to get to know Mike Sauter and all of, and
it's a bit,
all of the emphasis that go into the summer leagues with the 7-on-7.
He was there last night.
I'm sure he was.
Jesus, I thought he was going to ask Rule out for dinner. I know he's listening. It's a bit.
But all of that stuff that you see that's organized now in the summer compared to what it was too. And the amount of effort that goes in, the amount of planning that goes into, the amount of coaching throughout. You're right. I mean, out of season, even when guys are still involved in other sports. And then I think there probably is a large group of coaches. And I was even listening to some of the Larry Martin conversations last night, and I could listen to that guy talk football for hours. But the whole idea that you understand what works, how you're going to stay to your brand, but also to evolve. Like they're always that physical offensive line. They always
lost their star running back though.
Oh yeah, I heard. So they had quite a few injuries last night, right? Did I say
it was a physical game?
Yeah, and that's obviously that's a team that they are, but they're still putting in guys in skill position to be able to make a difference. The constant evolution of the game and how these coaches, I think, are really involved in that and being able to stay up just ahead of the trends in college football, yeah, but in high school football too. It's impressive. I mean, and that's not to say coaches before didn't do that. I think you bring up an interesting point though of that pressure to, especially if you're some of those schools in the Omaha Metro, to if you want to be in the playoffs and you want to actually have a chance to be in Lincoln there at the end of the year, the effort it takes now to get all those guys on the same page and to be able to have the type of players that are going to be able to make the difference. Like I know it may not be for some old school coaches because of the things that you have to do around the clock.
Look out for Elkhorn South, man. Death Taxes and Guy Rosenberg. Whew. They got a good team again. But then it's basically Millard South, West Side, and Elkhorn South. Now, I want to say something positive about Lincoln High School football because I think this is a story that needs to be told. We got an update with Jimmy coming up here in a little bit. Last night, there was an ass whooping, and it's kind of sad. Benson got crushed again last night. Benson got beat 77-0. All right. So Benson has been outscored 173-6 in their first 3 games. It's at some point I wonder if Benson co-ops for football. It doesn't matter. It's unfortunate, and there are people that want to help out Benson football, but they're behind the 8 ball, and it's tough to get back. But I want to give credit to the team that beat them 77-0 last night. That's Lincoln Northeast. Lincoln Northeast. They had lost 24 in a row until they started this year. And now they are 3-0. And people might, before you say, well, look at their schedule. You know what? I think they haven't given up a point. I think they've outscored the opposition 167-0. So shout out to the Rockets, who have had bits and, little spurts with good football. They're 3-0. So good on them. Good on them. And then last night I saw that Lincoln East won, and my mind was blown by the 2 quarterbacks. Mark Manning's son starts for Lincoln.
Oh, really?
Lincoln East at quarterback, Ryan.
Yeah.
And then longtime listeners of the morning show will remember, and he's still active on Twitter, but he's not a guest on the show anymore because of his job. But Aaron Sem, who would come on and break down football, and Aaron's a great football mind, good dude. Moved from Lincoln to Grand Island before the year began. He moved back home, and his son Gavin is the starting quarterback for Grand Island.
Nice.
So I was watching the tweets on that game while we were doing a game last night, and I'm like, wow, that's bizarro world. Head wrestling coach at Nebraska's kid is playing as quarterback at East, and he's a good player. Yeah. And then little Gavin, who I remember as a little kid, is now the starting quarterback at Grand Island.
Did I also see that Courtney Grigsby's son?
Yeah,
is now as a freshman.
Yeah, he's a freshman.
Yeah.
And he caught a 58-yard touchdown pass. Yeah. I think if you're a Grigsby, you have to be good in football. But
I've experienced that firsthand.
But I turned to Doxson and I was like, not on the air. I said, "Man, we're old."
That's what I thought when I saw Grigsby. His son is in high school. I'm like, Jesus,
Courtney's got a freshman in
Courtney's
high school.
younger than me,
and it gets worse.
Hey, Central's got a load of talent. Central can't get out of their own way. If they do, you got my interest because they got some dudes. But they just, again, last night they were plagued by penalties. All right, Jimmy's got an update coming up a little bit in the next hour. Load it up, boys and girls. Brett Ciancia, who was here last weekend, will join us from Pick 6 previews, and Lee Sterling, who is still searching for Colorado's 38 points that they left somewhere in Lincoln. We kid because we care, but we must ask the question. Lee will join us coming up at 7:50 in hour 2. Football Friday Fiesta on 1620 The Zone.
Reading the wrong thing. All right. Despite outshooting Iowa 10-5 in the second half, Nebraska soccer opens conference play with a 2-0 loss at 17th-ranked Iowa last night. The Hawkeyes secured their 5th shutout of the season, improving to 5-0-2, while the Huskers dropped to 3-4-0 on the year. Nebraska volleyball back in action with its 3rd non-conference tournament, the Nebraska Classic at Devaney this weekend. The Huskers will play number 14 and historical Big 12 power Arizona State tonight at 7, and then the Wheat Shakas of Wichita State tomorrow at 2. I remember them. Tonight's match will be televised on Big Ten Network, with Saturday's match streaming on the Big Plus. Or just listen to JB. High school football last night. Some scores. Bellevue West beats Bellevue East 62-0. It is Elkhorn 21, Gretna East 0, Lincoln East. These aren't all the scores. Lincoln East.
Good win by Elkhorn.
Oh, well, Lincoln East beats Grand Island 28-20. Lincoln Northeast and Benson. Gary talked about that. The 77-0 game. Millard South with a surprising 52-3 win over Kearney. And the game of the night on TV last night. Omaha North defeats Omaha Central 28-18. Tonight, some local games in Class A. Columbus at Omaha South. The Lincoln High at Fremont. Lincoln North Star against Elkhorn South. Lincoln Southeast against Creighton Prep. Millard North against Papio South. And then North Platte at Norfolk. Omaha Bryant at South Sioux City. Omaha Buena Vista at Omaha Northwest. Burke and Westview. West Side of Millard West. And Pavilion Vista and Lincoln Southwest. And Elkhorn North at Ralston. Gretna at Blair. And the big one, Mayor Handley. Hastings at Bennington. Homecoming, right?
Hey, I think to beat Bennington, so Bennington's won 41 in a row, you have to start the game thinking, how do we score 21?
Mm-hmm.
Because Bennington doesn't give up any points.
Yeah.
Their defense is salty.
I'm going to go ahead and say Hastings is not going to do that tonight.
Yeah.
I think
Tell him.
I think Senek is still the quarterback at Hastings.
Oh, really? Okay.
It'll be Hastings will be competitive. But you have to score to beat Bennington. I mean, you're not beating Bennington, if you're like, hey, if we win 7-3.
You're not winning in the Big Ten West.
Not the Giants 49ers Monday night game in 1990. Yeah, I remember watching it. Actually, first game I stayed up to watch. I was in second grade. Bengals wide receiver T. Higgins. Come on, dude, you got to play. He's confused by the narrative surrounding his injury situation. He said yesterday the hamstring injury that has kept him out of practice this week is completely unrelated to his contract status. Higgins has not practiced since he injured a hamstring in practice September 5th, just a few days before the team's season opening loss to the Patriots. Meanwhile, the Bengals might be a couple years removed from being AFC champions, but ahead of Sunday's matchup with Kansas City, the back-to-back reigning conference, and they won the Super Bowl too. Jamar Chase said the team still believed it was the team that commands the top spot. Whatever, dude. Bengals at Chiefs at the named Burrowhead. They came up with that. They do a lot of talking for a team that hasn't won anything. Football last night, Bills roll the Aquatic Mammals 31-10 at what once was Joe Robbie. College football delivered last night. Arizona State survived San Marcos. I know that feeling. They beat Texas State 31-28. And South Alabama, or USA, shocks and awes Northwestern State 87-10. Baseball, the Twins released minor league catcher Derek Bender yesterday after he told opposing hitters the type of pitches that were coming to the plate during at-bats in the game last week that eliminated his team from playoff contention. Salty, a 6th-round draft pick out of Coastal Carolina in July, was playing for the Fort Myers Mighty Muscles, the Twins single-A affiliate.
Wouldn't have happened if I was still working.
This hits home, right? I mean, come on.
Dude, that guy won't even be playing in the American Association. He should never play baseball again.
Yeah. That was the straight-up crash
I mean, I'm sure he wants to play baseball, but no one should ever pay him to play the game.
He's going to get blackballed. Bender told multiple hitters for the Lakeland Flying Tigers, a Detroit farm team, the specific pitches being thrown by starter Ross Dunn. That is not nice. Finally, because we got to end positively, them's the rules on this Friday the 13th. A suspect in a hit-and-run crash was arrested Thursday night after driving his truck onto the playing field at Folsom Field. No words as the police threw piss bombs at him, but they did arrest him. Police in Boulder said they received a call reporting multiple hit-and-run crashes involving the same blue pickup truck near Foothills Parkway and Arapahoe Avenue, about a mile and a half away from the stadium. Lovely area. Very beautiful. The driver of the truck struck several trees and the car as he fled and nearly struck a witness at the scene. Both Boulder police and University police tried to stop the driver before he rammed into a gate to Folsom Field, stopping the truck near the 40-yard line. Man, the CU defense is terrible. Along the visitor sideline. After negotiating with police, the driver got out of the truck and surrendered. Boulder police identify the suspect as Carl E. Haglin. Not Hungus. 48 for Massachusetts. He will be booked in Boulder County Jail on several charges, including 3 counts of leaving a scene of a crash after damage, criminal attempt, vehicular assault, reckless endangerment, driving without insurance, and trespassing. If they had showed this kind of want to last week, perhaps the game would have turned out a little different.
Man, that program's turned into a joke. Rough day for Dion. He responded to a troll tweet about Cam Rising's injury. The picture of this guy with his truck on the field.
Yeah, it's priceless.
The best drive Colorado's had in a while. I just wish that he would have climbed on the goalpost like Mork.
Exactly.
From Mork and Mindy, which was based in Boulder. And
They drove a
in the
Jeep.
opening montage, they show Mork standing on the goalpost at Folsom Field back in the day.
I can hear the theme.
I mean, I feel like they're always rolling too with cameras too. They could have gotten some really good content. This could have been some type of hype video too. Yeah, that truck was in bad shape, by the way. By the time it got inside the stadium,
what was?
It's a nice truck, by the way. It's a very nice truck.
Picture. Is he shirtless? Yes, he is.
Do you think they'll have on the video board at the next home game for Colorado? They'll have Ralphie racing that truck as a fan engagement.
Yeah. I mean, all right, section 24. You've got the truck.
Thanks, Jimmy. A couple of Omaha notes. Yesterday was a good day for Omaha athletics. The Offit family donated $1 million to the hockey program. Evan Porter, he has not announced his schedule. Omaha's like the last team in America that announces their schedule.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Well, you got to know when you're going to be on the mic.
Exactly. I know I'll be there for the Summer League tournament.
There you go. There you go.
Omaha's playing at LSU. They're going to Alex Box. We might have to carry those games on the radio.
That would be fun. I've never been that place.
We're going.
Let's go.
3-game series down in Baton Rouge.
We got some baseball chops.
Nebraska and LSU already played this year in the Frisco Classic.
Yep.
And then shout out to a guy that I think everybody should have a beer with, Tim Walters, the women's soccer coach over at Omaha. They shut out Cal Santa Barbara last night. So that is the 4th straight shutout for the women's soccer program. Their last 15 matches, they are 8-1-6.
Go.
He's a funny dude.
Yeah.
He's really, I mean, they got a good thing going.
I want to watch Goodfellas.
So they've won 4 straight shutouts by Omaha women's soccer. Also a cool note today. You mentioned volleyball with Nebraska, but Creighton is in Louisville for a banger of a 3-game tournament. But it's pretty cool if you are
I see what you're getting at. Yes.
the Booth family, because mom is going to coach against daughter. Creighton and you and I play today, and Reese, who finished a stellar career over at Elkhorn North, is a freshman at Northern Iowa.
Yeah.
And she's not like she's at the end of the bench, or in volleyball, if you're not playing, you stand in the corner and you do the cheers.
And you got the warm-up
stuff.
still on and everything.
Yeah. She's really good.
Plays.
So that's I think it's cool. It could be uncomfortable.
Yeah, I would think
and
so.
And then when it ends, you're like, oh, thank we got over with.
Yeah.
But neat that Kirsten, mom, is coaching her team, and her daughter Reese is playing at Northern Iowa and will be on the floor.
I have to ask the question that I think everybody did. Why isn't she at Creighton?
Sometimes you want to get away from home.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, you're starting a controversy, huh?
No, I'm just curious. I thought that was really interesting.
How come coach didn't recruit daughter? Did mom ward off coach?
Or did daughter say, you know what, you're in my consideration?
No, I think
you're in my top 3.
I think Kirsten has addressed it.
I thought she
was
did.
a fantastic program for Reese.
Yeah,
and I think
everybody wins.
It worked out. Yeah.
Okay.
But what happens if I don't know, Narciss has a missile of a kill and drills Reese Booth?
Like, my bad.
Does mom take out?
Yes.
North?
Is mom like, yeah, or oh God, get out of there?
But that's pretty cool. I mean,
it
that's.
Is. I would think that would be extremely uncomfortable though, to that point, because every member on that team, you have a game plan for, and how you want to attack and how you want to defend. You're coming up with a game plan for your own daughter.
I have those glasses.
So as you're texting, just the normal mother and daughter text and conversation. So how you feeling?
Yeah.
How's that right arm compared to the left arm?
My daughter was a great athlete at Elkhorn North. I think the whole family is down in Kentucky.
That is cool though.
I'm
glad they get it out of the way early on too.
You guys are onto something about going to Alex Box. You guys, it'd be a banger of a broadcast.
Thank you.
Two with the baseball.
Okay,
you guys got a lot of baseball.
You got some power. Move that forward.
We got time.
Why the hell
we got
not?
time to plan.
Thank you, Jimmy. So this weekend against Northern Iowa, I don't want to disparage Northern Iowa. I think it's a wonderful school. There
be
are
careful.
there's some people that have gone to school there that are friends of mine that I'm related to.
I share a bed with one, not your friend.
Damn.
What
a week.
Hey, what do you think? All of a sudden we're Mormon wives? You guys watch that?
I have.
Very
I really want
Very
to, though.
intrigued.
Yeah, I'm sure it's pretty good.
Who's BYU have this week?
So why has it got to be BYU?
Yeah, why can't it just be?
I
why can't
always
it be
like
Utes?
watching them.
So they're going to play a solid team, but let's be honest. Going into the fourth quarter last weekend, Nebraska was having this light show. Northern Iowa was trailing St. Thomas 10-7.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just spitting some facts.
Yeah.
But I think also part of this weekend is keeping the momentum going. Because don't you guys sense Nebraska football, for the first time in a while, has real momentum on and off the field? They're 2-0. We kind of like what's starting to bubble. And then off the field, they've got this beautiful facility. They've got people talking about Nebraska.
Yeah.
They've got national people that want us to click on things and are saying, hey, that's a college football playoff team. And then I look at Rule last night. So again, Matt Rule and Terrence Knighton were at the North Central game. And it has been, to be honest, I've been doing the high school football on Thursday and Friday nights for 11 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's been hit or miss on Nebraska coaches that physically are in person on Friday night. Bob Diaco showed up, and it was the most awkward friggin' thing at Bellevue West a few years back when Xavier Betts was playing.
Mm-hmm.
Diaco didn't stand on the sidelines. He was behind the fence. And I was like, oh, my God, go stand on the track, please. Let people see you.
Yeah.
Every other coach that comes here, they want to be seen. I mean, so, you know, and Frost would go to games in Lincoln. You wouldn't see him as much in Omaha. But I think it's important. You know, like I would see Barrett Ruud.
Wasn't Chenander in Omaha a lot too?
Yeah, because this was his area.
Yeah.
I would see Barrett Ruud quite a bit.
Yeah.
So last night, the head man is in town to look at a guy that's already committed to him. And he brings his defensive line coach. So I'm talking about keeping momentum going on and off the field. I mean, Rule, there are kids that are coming up to him that want selfies, that are dapping him. Rule is playing catch, like with a kid, like during a timeout. Terrence Knighton, like some North kid, got his attention and showed him his watch.
This is great.
They're the student section at North is hollering at Terrence Knighton, and he walks over and he's taking selfies with people. I mean, Rule was a rock star last night. I mean, you should have seen. It was pretty cool. All of these little kids over on the central sideline, and they were like junior Eagles. They're coming up, and you know they want pictures with Rule, but they're talking to him about how they can play at Nebraska.
Yeah.
I think it's Matt Satilli at Channel 7 was videoing, and you hear Rule say, "You got any tape?" He goes, "I'm not going to look at you if you don't got any tape." So like people are like excited. They recognize the coach. They're not afraid to talk to him. They want pictures with him. It's almost like they're gaining rock star status.
Right.
So you have this momentum going. You know, you had Dannon at the Holy Ghost last night, and I guess he tore it up. You know, people were excited. Good job, Nebraska. We have 1 million people in this town. We need to see more of you. But I think part of tomorrow night against an opponent that isn't going to remind you of Colorado, TikTok, my name is Ty Edwards. It's all about momentum.
Yeah, 100%. Because we spent the last few days talking about what you want to see out of this type of game compared to the emotion that's in there. And I don't know about you, Gary. I think that's a challenge when you come off of it. And we got to see it with the chasing three as well. We already knew. I don't think I necessarily needed a 45-minute series to understand how big that was for these guys and how fired up they were, but we did.
God, they kicked Colorado's ass and then made a movie about it.
Exactly.
That is like the ultimate flex.
Exactly. It got validated. I mean, the coin toss conversation is still getting so much run right now, which is just amazing.
These pictures look delicious.
So when you have what?
I'm looking at the picture of the email we got earlier. I just went through.
Okay. When you go from the standpoint of that high, that type of chip on your shoulder, if you will, to just getting down to basic execution, knowing that's going to be a lopsided victory. I mean, I really do feel this is when Matt Rule said yesterday their preparation, and I did love how he said, but just making sure that doesn't mean anything. I loved it. He knows stuff. He knows the history of this program.
Poll question: did he troll the former coach?
I think he absolutely 100% did. But I don't doubt that this coaching staff probably had to work about as hard as they have this week of getting them off of Saturday and then on to this, because you want to go in with so much momentum next Friday in Big Ten play too, that anything less than covering or a game that's sort of still up in the air late in the third, that takes a lot of everything they've built to this moment. And I think it's a great point on your end as well, as the presence around the community and all those different things. Because when you mentioned Terrence Knighton,
big dude, by the way.
Well, and
that is a large human being.
Think about all the guys, a lot of the kids that were at the game last night.
Mm-hmm.
When you see all of those big moments defensively,
great point.
Is he's up there. I mean, he's one of them. He is one of the guys. He is doing all of those different things. You're watching that on TV. You're watching how fun it is to play defense. You're watching Terrence Knight and that entire staff all about that. And so there's that engagement of this dude. How many times have we talked about a defensive line coach or a defensive coordinator or a maybe Glenn Thomas is a great example because he's not, he's not flashy guy, but a lot of coordinators, but also position coaches are like, damn, there he is. I recognize him. There he is.
I never did that with Hank Hughes.
I mean, I know the offensive line would talk very highly of Milt Tenopor, but I mean, you weren't like, oh my God, there he is. But there is that presence, and there is that what you saw Saturday night where all eyeballs were on that, and then you get a chance to see them, and you're trying to get the defensive line coach's attention because you're looking at him like he's the same as Matt Rule. Like, that's cool. But I'm not saying you lose all that, but you're right. It's at a fever pitch that this game, for those reasons, does matter because the momentum is at such a peak, and especially the important part of the season where you're now turning the page into the conference play next week. You've got to seize this opportunity on the weekend. I know I'm trying to sound like Eminem. There you go. You only get one shot.
I'm waiting.
I kind of went
I'm
there.
waiting.
One shot.
Like I talk about two trailer park girls around the outside.
I'm not going to talk about spaghetti vomit on your sweater already, Mom spaghetti or anything like that. But
spaghetti was yesterday. We've moved on.
But yeah, like they are. It's just that game needs to be done. Like we talked about the tap out, that needs to be evident by the early third.
Telling you, load it up. He talked about him yesterday. The human victory cigar should be in a quarterback in the second half.
Does anybody else call him that?
No, but the first time I get a chance to meet him,
yeah.
I'm gonna dub him that.
Yeah,
I'm gonna tell him, hey, do you know what I call you? How you doing, Jalen?
I feel like he'll like it.
Here, one quick thing. I know we got to get to Brett here, so we don't get backed up. Interesting about the inner workings of Nebraska, that two guys that don't play a ton on the field, but have an important role off the field, get mentioned quite a bit by a head coach.
Mm-hmm.
Elliott Brown and Jalen Gramstad.
Yep.
It's kind of interesting. Both future coaches, both play an important role, but don't necessarily show up in the box score.
Yeah, can't wait to hire him.
Brett Ciancia just got back from his trip to Nebraska. He'll join us coming up next. Lee Sterling is 33 minutes away. Come and get your whooping on 1620 The Zone. All right, Nebraska, Northern Iowa tomorrow, 6:30 on BTN. Final non-conference game for Nebraska, trying to go to 3-0 for the first time since 2016. Illinois, by the way, Nebraska's opponent a week from tonight in Lincoln, trying to go to 3-0 for the first time in 13 years. Maybe ranked, unranked. We'll see. Let's welcome in our good friend who had a fantastic experience in Lincoln last Saturday night. Don't want to put words in his mouth. Brett Ciancia from Pick Six Previews joins us. Good morning, my friend.
Hey, good morning, guys. And yeah, that's true. I loved my time in Lincoln. It was a great trip. Thank you so much to Oscar Nation for being so hospitable, so welcoming in. Got to meet so many listeners and podcasters and radio and media. It was a great time. And then the game started, and what an atmosphere that was. Oh, my gosh. My first night game in Lincoln, but to see the crowd all fired up for 4 straight hours, to see that defensive line attacking Colorado's offense in the first half. The pick six, I said this on Twitter, was the loudest I'd ever heard a college football stadium in my life. And that was the score that made it 14-0 there. It was right in my end. I was at the 10-yard line on the field. So I love my trip out there. And I think the way this season's unfolding, there's a lot of W's ahead if they just stay 1-0, as my rule says, 1-0 each week. And I like this post-game press conference, some of the phrasing he was using. It seems like a motivated bunch. So really excited for the Husker fans.
Brett, how many podcasters did you meet? I know you.
Oh, it's a big media apparatus, man. It was great. I met the Husk guys, the Go Big Redcast. I think one is called NRBR.
Yeah, no block, no rock. Yeah.
Yep. I was at the Omaha Steak tailgate with Pipeline Jerky, so a lot of stuff happening. Got to record some pregame segments. So yeah, really a great time.
I'm glad you had a good time and you made it home safely.
Yeah, and appreciate. We had a post-game recap. Me and Gary live from the stadium.
Yeah, how was your Uber driver?
Parking lot there. Yeah, it was cool. No, just a great college football day, and it's music to the ears of listeners here. But I've been telling people nationally, if you haven't been out to Nebraska for a game, it's on the bucket list for college football fans and media. So I'm glad I got to see it at its best. That place was absolutely rocking.
Hey, let's jump into this weekend's slate, but let's first talk about last night. What's going on in Tempe? Last year they were 3-9. Kenny Dillingham is now 3-0. What's the difference in Tempe, Brett?
Yeah, well, they've grown up a lot in their second year here under Dillingham, and last week against Mississippi State they jumped out to a big lead and got the W. Last night they fell behind, and I think in past years when they were down 21-7, I think they would have folded during the Herm Edwards era and even last year under Dillingham. But this team grew up last night. They rallied back to tie it. And then got a fumble recovery late down in Texas State's end to get the go-ahead field goal, and they held on. So, they're a solid team. I don't think they're a real player in the Big 12 this year, but going 3-0 in the non-conference makes them a player for bowl season at least. So I think they'll get a couple W's in league play. I love their running back, Scatabo. He does everything. He's really just a throwback kind of player, very physical. And their quarterback, Sam Levitt, he extends plays on third down from the pocket. So they have some good, some bad, but I think they'll make bowl season now.
We've been talking about this one, and I think in the preseason, this was a game that was going to be very interesting, especially since Alabama is coming into a very unique environment in Madison, Wisconsin. The number now, though, at 16 in favor of Alabama on the road. If this game is highly competitive in the fourth quarter, what do you think entails? How do we get to that point between these two teams based on what you've seen between the Crimson Tide and Wisconsin?
Well, I think Wisconsin will need some self-inflicted errors from Alabama because what I saw in Alabama in week one was a total machine. They shut out Western Kentucky. They did everything perfectly. Wisconsin struggled in the opener. I remember it was, I think, an FCS or a MAC team, and they really couldn't lay up the scoreboard much. And even last week, they were only 2-score win over South Dakota. Not the Jackrabbits, the Coyotes, which is a different kind of team there. So I don't really see it. I thought that the Wisconsin offense would be clicking more in year two under Phil Longo. It really just hasn't looked apart. So maybe they're saving some stuff. Maybe it's a little vanilla given the opening slate, but they were close enough games that they couldn't really have that luxury. So I don't really see a path to victory for Wisconsin. They're one of the teams that I've downgraded since the preseason book, but maybe they'll surprise me with the home atmosphere.
Hey,
I think it's Alabama's going to run away with it.
I'm a big fan of home teams getting points, especially when they're coming off an open week and they have time to prepare. I'm talking about Purdue. They get Notre Dame and West Lafayette, about 11.5-point underdog, or the Boilermakers. What do you think Purdue is actually getting with Notre Dame coming off that still hard to figure out loss to Northern Illinois?
Yeah, well, they have the advantage of quarterback. Hudson Card played a perfect game in the opener, going 24 for 25, 96% completion rate. It's like video game stuff. Meanwhile, Riley Leonard really has struggled throwing the ball, about a 50% completion rate. No touchdowns yet, 2 picks. So what they're getting with Notre Dame, they're reeling off one of the worst losses in school history. I mean, this is a historic loss, especially because they had some playoff hype going. They were number 5 in the country. This was year 3 under Marcus Freeman, and usually you see the program really take shape in the second or third years. So then to go out, that's a deflating loss like that. I don't know how you come back from that. So they better figure it out quick, because Purdue loves that as the spoiler makers, as they're known as, and they love being home underdogs, like you referenced. So I would keep an eye on this. I don't even want to touch this one because Notre Dame is so variable. I don't know what's going to come out of the tunnel Saturday. If this team is broken or if they're renewed focus, I have no clue what to expect. So we're going to learn a lot about Marcus Freeman Saturday.
Brett, is the best game of the week tonight between Arizona and Kansas State?
Oh, I love that one. I'm a big fan of the old Pac-12, and with that going away, it's like these Big 12 night games have taken that spot.
Mm-hmm.
And what you have is a very traditional Big 12 program with Kansas State. They know the lay of the land. They have the recipe and formula to win. Then you have newcomer Arizona coming in, and they're fresh off an 11-win season, but a new coaching change, bringing in Brent Brennan with Jed Fish heading up north of Seattle. So I like Kansas State here. I know they struggled a little bit with Tulane, but Arizona had their struggles too against an FCS opponent, Northern Arizona. So I like Kansas State here tonight. It could be the best game of the weekend. I'll throw in my biased pick as a Boston College alumni. You got to give me 10 seconds here. We finally have something to talk about. It's been since before I even graduated from there. But yeah, I think BC Missouri on paper looks cool to have a ranked matchup. I think it's going to be tough for BC to go in there and compete. But game of the week might be tonight. You're right.
I do like that matchup. That's a really good quarterback matchup tonight in Manhattan. It is, for people playing at home, it is not a Big 12 counting game,
right?
Just like Baylor and Utah. Brett, convince me that LSU is different. Man, they have struggled in stretches for their first 2 games. They're a little over a touchdown favorite. Game day is in Columbia. Don Staley is the guest picker. South Carolina is coming off beating Kentucky. It's a nationally ranked team. Beamer needs a win. Brian Kelly needs a win. How does this unfold in Williams-Brice Stadium tomorrow?
Yeah, well, South Carolina's team, I just can't get a read on. I'll openly admit this. My game grader formula can't figure it out. I can't figure it out how they blew out Kentucky last week. And this is coming off of a really struggling performance against Old Dominion in the opener, a weak season last year. I didn't like what they did with the transfer portal at several positions. And then all of a sudden they go out and smack Kentucky 31-6 and really out-physical them and took over the pass game. So they played a complete game. With LSU, I liked what I saw in the opener despite the loss. I thought they looked like a solid top 20 team. But then last week they lay an egg, and they're only up 2 points over Nicholls State in the third quarter. It took a late fourth quarter explosion to make the score look respectable. But leave no doubt, that was a competitive ballgame. I think here, though, I still wanted to side with the historical track record, side with my preseason prediction. I'll go LSU to win here, and I think they'll cover the 7. If South Carolina proves me wrong 2 weeks in a row, I got to just switch up the formula or something. I just don't understand it.
I want to ask you about this game because, honestly, it probably wasn't really on my radar until it happened last week. And that is, first of all, how competitive Tulane was against Kansas State, but also more importantly, Oklahoma messing around with Houston, those two teams meeting up. What is your take on Oklahoma heading in here to week 3?
Yeah, well, we saw a perfect game from Oklahoma in the opener against Temple, and then they really struggled against Houston. Houston was fresh off a loss to UNLV. This is one of the worst Power 4 teams out there. So Tulane is probably a better team than Houston. So they're going to be challenged more than they were last weekend. I think with Oklahoma, what you're seeing is a little bit of variability on offense, just given their youth and the new faces on their offensive line. That was the big issue coming in. I knew they'd have a solid defense. I think everyone has agreed on that with Brett Venables in his second year and all those starters back. But the question was offensively losing all 5 linemen and then their quarterback, Dylan Gabriel, transferring to Oregon. So I think you're seeing a young and new faces offensive line gelling. And if you're an Oklahoma guy, hopefully you see them take a step forward this week. But 13 seems like a lot of points, guys, for a team that couldn't score on Houston.
Brett Ciancia from Big Six Previews joining us. A couple more games to look at. inspire me here because you are my motivational guy. These two teams combined against the spread are 0-4. Life is about to get very uncomfortable for either Texas A&M or Florida. Texas A&M's a 4-point favorite in the Swamp. Mike Elko against Billy Napier and all the stuff surrounding him. Does Florida sneak a victory out against the Aggies?
Well, he's going to need to start pulling out some of these magic tricks, and they got to start getting some W's because the hot seat is turned all the way up on Billy Napier now in his third season. I wouldn't say the same about Mike Elko. I mean, remember, he just got signed this offseason. I know A&M has a crazy hot seat, but it's his first year, and he's 1-1, and he lost a competitive ball game to Notre Dame. So we give him a little bit more of a slack. But with Florida, yeah, he's got to start winning some games. And I saw where they're not releasing who their starting quarterback is. Last year, Graham Mertz did really well throwing the ball. This year, a little bit inconsistent. They have DJ Lagway, a 5-star true freshman, coming in and getting good time, might even start. But I think it's too much of a mess. I'm going to go with A&M. I like Mike Elko better as a head coach. I like their offensive coordinator, Colin Klein, better as a coordinator than what Florida has. And they recruit better, too. It's a better recruiting program than Florida has these days. So I'll go with A&M on the road. I think Florida's just really broken right now.
Clearly, this one is over before it started because Oregon State got the great news with the Pac-12 and everything that's going on there. So Oregon State, I kid, but I am curious your thoughts on Oregon. I mean, this is still, hey, the Civil War. You've got a lot of intrigue that this storied rivalry between Oregon and Oregon State. Oregon has been interesting to this point as well. Kind of a similar question about what you make of Oklahoma. What do you think about Oregon and this matchup in particular, but just Oregon in general now heading into week 3?
Yeah, Oregon's been a shock out of the gates. I think that they were the consensus top 5 team by everybody in the country. Everyone had them in their playoff brackets, whether as the Big Ten champ or as an at-large, a top at-large even. And they come out, they almost lose to Idaho and what would have been the biggest college football upset ever at 49-point spread. And then last week took all the way late until the fourth quarter to steal one against Boise. So until they've earned it, I don't think they can get a big line like that. A 17-point road favorite, that seems high to me. It's one of those you just got to see it to believe it kind of thing. They've already had 2 mulligans. And in Oregon State, they're going to be fired up given the conference drama the last couple of years, how they've been left behind by the quote-unquote big dogs going to the Big Ten and the Big 12. So they'll be motivated. And guys, an aside real quick, I'm looking at the college football map. Is there any way we can get the Montana schools and the Dakota schools into this Pac-2? Because that'd be so cool. I know there's bigger issues going FCS to FBS, but I'd love to see a regional conference like that and bring the Montanans in, the Bison and Jackrabbits. It'd be a heck of a league.
You're crazy, man. Did you just say I'd like to have regional rivalries
what
in
is
college
that?
football?
I haven't seen that forever.
Come
on. It's an old-fashioned
What is
term.
that?
It used to be about that, right? It's gone.
Yeah. All right, good chatter on this. What game tomorrow gets the big screen TV in the man cave of Pick 6 previews?
Well, I'm going to go with Boston College, Missouri,
Okay.
and that is until
Bias.
until it's 21-0 Missouri, and they don't turn it off. But no, I think you're going to see 2 great quarterbacks. I think you have Brady Cook in Missouri. He led a great 11-win season last year. And then you have at BC, Thomas Castellanos, a dual threat guy, really a one-man show. He's able to elevate everyone around him. So we're going to see a measuring stick of how for real BC is. They could still go and compete in the ACC, but in terms of national, let's see how they compete. But that gets number 1 for me Saturday afternoon.
All right. It was great seeing you this past weekend, my friend. I'm glad you got to hook up with a lot of people. You got a huge fan base here in Nebraska, and you're welcome anytime.
Oh, thanks. Appreciate it. Same to you. Great seeing you. Great seeing everybody. And good luck this week against Northern Iowa.
We'll talk to you next week. Thanks, Brett.
Thank you.
Brett Ciancia from Pick 6 Previews. I like the Arizona K-State game tonight. I wonder if Avery Johnson will run the ball more. Jimmy doesn't like his hair.
Well, he's
I'm jealous of his hair. I love his hair.
CJ Beathard. He looks like CJ Beathard.
KU and K-State are both playing on a Friday night.
Yeah.
What does the state of Kansas think about that? What's Independence doing? Are they playing tonight too?
What does Free State High School in Lawrence think?
Well, the game's not in Lawrence, so it's a different town.
Take that.
Yeah.
I honestly, I don't know. I just hope they kick UNLV's ass.
Clearly, the state of Kansas does not care about high school football.
That's a them problem.
If UNLV wins, they get an invite to the Pac-12.
Yeah.
But they got to take Nevada Reno with them.
There are notices being sent out to the various schools throughout this week of like, hey, if you look like this, we will invite you. So come on.
And also, Brett and Nebraska Ball Mike are on the same page here with the Montanas.
Yeah. I mean, and then you brought up Dakotas too.
Mm-hmm.
North Dakota State more likely than South Dakota State, I was told yesterday.
Right.
Okay.
but still going to be a wait and see because you don't know where everything's moving.
Yeah.
All right, Lee Sterling from Paramount Sports will join us next on 1620 The Zone. All right, time for Lee Sterling from Paramount Sports. He joins us now. Good morning, Lee.
Tough morning, guys. The Dolphins fan with that Tua injury. That was rough to watch.
Yeah, that was. I got to imagine that was a depressing night for the Finns with the loss and then losing Tua. So it'll be interesting to see moving forward what they do at that position, and everybody's worrying about Tua and his safety to return. Before we jump into this week's games, your reaction to what happened here in Lincoln last Saturday night where Nebraska won 28-10. We had you on last week. You like Colorado. You thought it was going to be a high-scoring game, 48-45. Yep. It was a little bit different.
A little bit of a swing and a miss by me. The Nebraska defense was incredible. I mean, they just totally dominated. They could have rushed 2 or 3, and that would have been enough. 4 was I mean, they were all over Shedeur Sanders. So Shedeur Sanders probably went from a middle first rounder to a middle second rounder in one game. So very impressive performance by the defense. Offense going to need to pick it up a little bit.
Agreed.
Once they get into the meat and potatoes of the schedule, but they have the parts put together to have a nice season.
Okay, you mentioned Shedeur too. The offense for Colorado. Are we looking at that as maybe a little bit overvalued group right now?
Yeah, the offensive line's terrible. I mean, if you have no offensive line, you have no chance. Offensive and defensive lines determine pretty much how good you're going to be. Obviously, quarterback's the most important player, but I mean, he could every time he was dropping back, there was guys on him. He had to be on the move, so it changed the entire game. So I have a feeling that Deion Sanders won't be coaching. I think he'll probably step down as soon as both of his sons move on.
Let's jump into it. Monday night, Caleb Williams struggled, but Chicago won. Failed to reach 100 yards passing. Houston looked okay, but Joe Mixon looked really good. This seems like maybe a little bit of a mismatch for week 2 with Houston playing at home on Monday Night Football.
Yeah, it does. I think Chicago's going to end up being a very good team, but they're not there yet, especially on offense. You can watch preseason, doesn't really give you a true indicator. I don't know if you guys know this. So Chicago goes undefeated preseason and dominated. Oh, I know. When the Dolphins went undefeated in 72, they lost all 6 preseason games. Look it up. Is that crazy?
God, you just blew my bubble right there.
Yeah. So C.J. Stroud is a top 5 quarterback right now. They added offensively to the weapons that they have. They added 3 new starters. Their defense is very underrated also. I just think it's going to take time for Caleb Williams, who's threw for 93 yards last week, to come together. Might be in a couple weeks, but not against this defense, not on the road here. Houston 30-17 over Chicago.
Game that we were actually just having a little discussion on, the Civil War. You go out to Oregon. This will be in Corvallis. Oregon State hosting Oregon. Big number for Oregon, despite a bit of a sketchy start at 2-0. How are you seeing this one with Oregon laying, I should say, 16?
I think eventually this offense is going to click them, and they've got weapons. The offensive line is not very good. That's their weakness. So when they face good defensive lines, I think that's going to be the problem for them. Watch the tape. I mean, not as bad as Colorado's, but it was not good. I mean, they had to win with a punt return for a touchdown, a kickoff return for a touchdown, a field goal the last play of the game. Giovanni McCoy, the starting quarterback for Oregon State, can make some plays with his feet, but a lot of the talent. I mean, look at what left. I mean, the best running back is at Miami, Damian Martinez, even DJ Ugalele didn't stay around. Aiden Childs moved on, who was going to be the starter. He moved to Michigan State. So I think Oregon, finally, you see them put it together. I think they win and cover here, something like 42-24.
Michigan got bullied last week, Lee, by Texas. Texas is legit. Michigan hasn't had a lot of explosive plays. Now they welcome in Arkansas State, who expected to compete for a Sun Belt title. Is this the week that Michigan's offense gets right at home in the Big House?
I think so, only because they'll just overwhelm Arkansas State. The different level of talent. They also, with their defense is still very good. Texas played well. I mean, the timing, Quinn Ewers and his vision to see the open man, read defense is next level. He certainly helped himself out as far as the NFL draft. So that defense and special teams will probably set them up also, but they should average like 6-7 yards a carry against this Arkansas State defense. Doesn't return much on the front seven. So you saw, though, the difference in that game between a top 5 team at Texas and a 20th to maybe 25th best team. It's probably 17-24 points. We'll go with Michigan. We have them winning this game here 38-3.
Alabama going into Big Ten country in Madison, taking on Wisconsin. Big number for Alabama as well, laying 16 against the Badgers. How do you see it playing out?
So Wisconsin's trying to open up the offense. They brought in last year Phil Longo from North Carolina, and they ended up bringing in Tanner Mordecai, who the year before at SMU had 35 touchdown passes. Last year, only 9. And this year, they're bringing in Tyler Van Dyke from Miami, 192 and 214 passing yards. That's it in the 2 games against Western Michigan, South Dakota, combined 1 touchdown pass. So they need some type of running game, and Braylon Allen, he ended up going to the NFL. They're not going to be able to keep this Alabama defense honest, and their receivers get no separation. They're just not able to recruit or get kids in the portal to come there. They just, I guess kids know this is not a place a receiver wants to go. Haven't had many good receivers since Al Toon. I don't see Bama fumbling 3 times like last week. Bama pulls away late, 35-13.
Lee, hey, you just dropped an Al Toon on the show.
Hey, don't forget Nick Toon was there too.
Well played, my friend.
I had him. The first time I won fantasy, I had Al Toon.
All right, good teams win, great teams cover. Nebraska, last game before the Big Ten, they played Northern Iowa, nearly a 4-touchdown favorite. What do you think happens on another night game in Lincoln?
So Northern Iowa, if you go back in history, plays Division I opponents, usually very, very tough. So they lost their quarterback. He graduated last year, and they're more of a run-based team. Returned their top 2 running backs from last year. So I see this team trying to run the ball. 4 to 5 starters return on their offensive line. They only lost their center. The schedule starts getting tougher next week. Illinois, Purdue, Rutgers. And then, late October with Ohio State. But I'd like to see the offense, perform better in the second half here. Could they stretch it out if they wanted to? Yes. But so far we haven't seen an offense that, has really opened up the offense. Even the play calling, when they've gotten the red zone, needs to improve a little bit. I think this defensive line was incredible, better than I ever could have expected. They dominated. They didn't even need to blitz last week. I think they beat Northern Iowa pretty soundly. I think they win this game something like 34-6, but I'd probably take the points here, Northern Iowa.
All right, and as we know, Sunday afternoon, we've got the national audience checking out Kansas City hosting Cincinnati. A lot of smack talk by Cincinnati, by the way, as well. Free play. How do they get involved?
First 5 callers, if they call 800-400-9741, we'll give them the game for free. So got something big on this game going between Kansas City and Cincinnati in the NFL, probably the marquee game. First 5 callers call 800-400-9741. Give them Kansas City and Cincinnati on me. And if you want to come aboard, 3 weeks, $397 of our phone service. You're going to get probably 8 to 12 games every week, and that goes through September 30th. And we also have a UFC card, UFC pay-per-view, first time ever from the Sphere. Sean O'Malley, Sugar Shane fights. So you want to get that card, 5 selections, $57, and a bunch of other free pick videos. We can't go through all the games. There's some other big games like Georgia, Kentucky, Missouri, BC, Florida State, Memphis. Watch all those videos on the website, ParamountSports.com.
Hey, thanks, Lee. Have a great weekend.
Okay, you too, guys.
Lee Sterling from Paramount Sports. Quick one here. Want a quickie? You guys like quickies?
Yeah, usually.
So
weekend
Michigan's
special.
offense hasn't been explosive. They've only had 17 plays of over 10 yards in the first 2 weeks.
Cow.
UCLA is the worst. UCLA has only had 10. Indiana, UCLA, the spread is 3. Favorite IU. Remember, we're looking at that game about a month from now. Does IU win at UCLA? What a great game this will be in basketball.
Yes, it will.
The Assembly Hallers go to the Pauley Pavilion.
This is what the schedule makers had in mind.
But UCLA's offense, I was more explosive when my feet hit the ground this morning out of bed than UCLA's offense has been. Indiana might make a statement. Hey, Cignetti is a good coach.
Yeah.
He'll have them prepared. That's moving up on the list of games I must watch.
Over on that 45.5. Is that a Indiana covering it by themselves?
Well, I haven't said what my pick is.
Okay. All right.
You never know. Strange things happen. Yeah. There was an earthquake in Malibu. Will there be an Hoosier earthquake in Pasadena?
Ooh.
All right. So Lee owned up to it, so that's good.
Yeah. Is that a swing and a miss?
Yeah. He'll have a better week this week.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? Hey, it's a new day.
It is a new day. It's a new day. Didn't have the Huskers covering, though. Bookmark.
Jesus. This is the world that keeps receipts.
I'm all about pettiness, so
we're
I can
gonna
get
play.
behind it.
We're gonna play a kids game.
Oh, I love
when
it.
we come back surrounding the Nebraska Northern Iowa game.
Yes, this is fun. I don't even know what it is, but I'm excited.
Duck, duck, gray duck.
By the way, you'd be proud. We taught him that. He doesn't say goose. He goes gray duck.
You know where you live, don't you?
Yes, I know where
you don't live in Minnesota.
I know I don't live in Minnesota, but one of my friends is from Minnetonka. Remember, he said everybody who has a friend from Minnesota is from Minnetonka. He taught him that, and it took. He's also a big Vikings
to
fan.
It than us.
Kid is brainwashed.
He is. He's got a lot of different forces pulling at him as far as influence. I just don't like it. That's why I can't have him in the booth with you tomorrow.
Wouldn't that help though?
God knows what he'll come away with.
Oh, I'm not
come
gonna
back a Cubs
swear.
fan?
I'm not a cusser.
Well, you can't do that in the press box, too.
No.
Oh.
I'm not responsible enough. I'd probably forget that
I know.
I was in charge of. I just walk away. Be
I know
talking to somebody.
I know who you'd probably sit him next to. I'll tell you off air.
Yeah, he'd come back speaking a whole different collection of words. It's Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
Halftime is brought to you by Omaha Whiskey Fest 2024, the largest celebration of whiskey in the region. That'll be happening on September 28th in downtown Omaha. Also the same day as the Purdue game. Why is that important? Well, Big Red Overreaction will be there and also be listening the week of Omaha Whiskey Fest. We'll give you some more opportunities to win passes to Omaha Whiskey Fest.
Gotta get our Friday on.
What's going on, though, there?
There are no bad words in this. Whiskey. There you go.
Who is this?
Head Planet Earth.
Okay.
Remember them back in the day?
They really wanted to be Limp Bizkit, didn't they?
It didn't last long, but they put on a hell of a show back then.
More songs you to start with.
All right, welcome back in. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. You over there playing that stuff.
Day.
Hey, let's pick up the music this morning. All right, let's get a little juice going. All right, we got Northern Iowa.
Juice Newton.
I know. Maybe you are. No.
That's Northern Iowa.
I know you 85-year-olds. Welcome to the show.
What about Juice WRLD?
What about juicing?
Well. Have you ever done juicing?
Rest in peace, the juice.
Yeah. Always had some good gambling advice. Was it fantasy? No, it was
fantasy football.
Yeah, fantasy football advice. That's right. That was kind of his lasting presence on social media.
All right, the weather outside looks great. If you're going to a high school football game tonight, the weather is going to be great. The weather's going to be great tomorrow night in Lincoln. But let's just pause for a moment. Not to get all religious on you or anything like that. I just want to make people happy.
Thank you.
I want people to have some unity here.
Okay.
I want people to reach across the river.
Oh.
Hands across America.
Do you guys realize that we currently live in a world, this wonderful place that we call home, we live in a world where Nebraska and Iowa State are ranked and Iowa is not.
Handshake meme. Handshake meme.
Long live the Big Eight.
Hey, this is Fred Hoiberg's day.
There was a big smile on his face in the afternoon right before the kickoff to Nebraska, Colorado, because he had already won.
Mm-hmm.
He had already won.
Mayor of 2 cities.
Yeah.
I'm going to get a little nerdy on you here because last night James Cook had a monster night for the Bills.
Gave me 30 points in fantasy.
Well, you may not have known about it because the Shaquille O'Neal of the Boston Celtics is in the booth for Amazon.
Yeah, so how bad was this?
So Al Michaels just collecting a paycheck. He doesn't have to worry about his legacy. He's one of the best ever.
Yeah.
But he's 79. It's kind of boring.
Yeah.
I think he's collecting a paycheck. But you remember when Shaquille O'Neal played for the Celtics?
Yeah.
That's what I equate.
It's very weird.
Al Michaels to doing with
time.
Amazon.
I love that analogy, by the way.
I mean, he is secure as one of the greatest voices of all time in sports. It just, the fastball is a little bit off. Like he's gone from throwing the fastball of Ben Joyce to he's now throwing the fastball of Jamie Moyer.
That is a great one right there. Top it out at 88 miles an hour.
I love Uncle Al, but
yeah,
I don't. Maybe I don't know how he goes out. It just feels like he's collecting a paycheck. Okay.
Yeah, because the first year of the prime lineup, I chalked it up to, first of all, not working with Kirk Herbstreit. Maybe that was different. And then he was getting some duds. And this is where, even on some of the Sunday night football games that became blowouts, they were usually really good matchups. So he was able to deliver that. I think he fell victim to some of the Thursday night slates that were happening. And then the thing that I've never heard from Al Michaels, he had a tendency last night as the game was getting away
to complain about the kickoffs.
Yes, the complaining. He doesn't usually do that. I've noticed that since he's gone to Thursday nights, he's a lot more complaining.
Jimmy,
is it just because he's older?
Jimmy, as you get older, how's that going to work for you? You complain about everything.
I know. Maybe
you just go the exact reverse.
That's why I moved up here and stopped broadcasting.
All of a sudden, one day you're going to be all happy, and everything is going to be happy.
Yeah, it has the exact reverse effect.
Oh man, I went outside and that bird crapped on me. But you know what?
It's good luck.
I needed to wash this shirt.
You're right.
It's okay,
and it matches.
He has gotten complainy though.
I mean, I love Al is Al, but last night was like the debut of this year.
Mm-hmm.
It felt a little bit different.
I was afraid of this
during the game. I'm going to nerd out on you a little bit here.
Okay.
So James Cook ran wild for the Bills last night.
Sure did.
You know who his brother is, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is going to blow people away, and I hope people share this because we need to talk about this more, and I wonder if this is a frequent thing in families. So James Cook's brother is Dalvin Cook, who is now with the Cowboys, most notably with the Vikings. But the guy that was running free last night for the Bills is James Dalvin Cook. The guy that runs for the Cowboys that used to run for the Vikings is Dalvin James Cook.
Yeah, DJ.
With the Cowboys now? When this happen?
I am 1 year old today knowing that James Dalvin Cook, his older brother is Dalvin Cook, who is Dalvin James Cook. That makes sense?
Yeah, and it probably got very, very confusing when we've
all at it. Shout out TC.
We've all been there.
Is this wild or normal?
Very wild, because when your middle name is used, usually you're in trouble. When they're growing up, when I don't know as a parent why you'd want to put yourself through that. That'd be very, very, very confusing when you're like, James Dalvin Cook.
Is James
Dalvin James Cook?
Is James Cook, who had 3 touchdowns last night, better than his brother?
That performance was. Dalvin was a thing, man. In
Plays for a better team.
Hey, he was. Dalvin Cook with the Vikings was a thing.
Loved him. Loved him.
James Dalvin Cook and Dalvin James Cook.
I think
I'm like blown away.
That's when you're trolling the human race.
I'm gonna have to figure out if anybody in my family has that.
Like
my brother is not Joseph Gary Sharp, which would be very awkward because Gary would be a weird middle name.
I've heard Gary in middle names actually.
Really?
Yes.
We need more Garys.
I know you guys are that namesake's a bit of a dying breed, isn't it?
It is. It's an older person's name.
I think even Nick is.
They had a resurgence after Bachelor Party.
Yeah, but now
that's long gone. Yeah, I mean,
late 20s. They're on to their second.
Those Nicks are. I mean, they're already having
age.
kids and they're naming them Bryson.
Well, more people need to have kids and name them Gary.
It could get. My wife alerted me last night that she got some type of.
She's ready to have another kid.
No. She had a fashion trend pop up and said skinny jeans are back.
How about this between you and your wife?
Mm.
And I'm sure she's listening. She probably just hates my guts.
Morning, Jenny.
Like the winner of tomorrow night, you're a Nebraska fan. She's a UNI grad. Gets to decide what are you guys going to do with the family.
Oh, phone's ringing.
Because at the end of
Let me answer Jenny's call.
At the end of the day, she has more say of it than you.
Well, that's true. This is why we did name the dog Macy.
If this is your wife, are you going to be uncomfortable?
A little bit. Oh my gosh, is it really? This isn't my wife, is it?
No.
Okay. All right. I was like, wow, she was on point.
Hey, this is going to be a letdown.
Right there.
Call.
So the reason we named our dog.
You're determining the sex that's going to go on the Handley household.
Well, we named the dog after the 2016 World Series. The winner got, so I was all set to name our new dog Frankie, especially when they're up 3-1.
Not Rajay?
I'm really happy, actually, she didn't go with her first choice. She ended up going with Macy because of Macy's in Chicago. But she was it was 2 names. I liked Rizzo, but we ended up getting a girl dog. She was going to name it Addison. That would not have aged well.
Rizzo was a girl in Greece. That could have worked.
That's true.
Yeah.
But you went Macy. But yeah, I was
also
also
named it Addison. It probably would have attacked you.
I a brother named Clark.
When that whole story came out, I told her, "Aren't you glad we didn't name the dog Addison?" That would have been the name. She's like, "But
you could have
because people don't think of Addison Russell; they think of the street."
Yeah, they would have thought of the street.
Yeah, I'm like,
I immediately
not
thought
me.
of the shortstop who might still be lost in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
All right, before we get to
Dog's
Andrew,
name is Indiana.
Let me throw the stat out here. We'll talk to Andrew and we'll come back to this, but I want everybody here to choose a side. Okay? This is the time of the year we must choose a side.
Already?
Do you remember when you were a kid and you played that game? A lot of people called it 500.
Mm-hmm.
You throw the ball up in the air. Yeah.
Still do.
Tommy Armstrong threw a lot of those balls.
Whoa.
Yeah.
The retired Tommy Armstrong
Yes.
just caught a stray.
The last game against
Champion
Iowa, I
Tommy
remember
Armstrong.
saying that. I'm like, he's saying 500.
He's a championship quarterback with the Omaha Beef.
He is
Multiple
two-time.
championships.
Yeah, two-time champ.
Okay.
But he
So I'm
Took
changing
chances.
the game here. Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
What is more likely to happen tomorrow against the Northern Iowa Panthers? For the first time in 15 games as the head football coach at the University of Nebraska, Nebraska has a 100-yard rusher under Matt Rule. The closest, Emmett Johnson against Maryland last year, he had 84. Or this. For the 11th time in Matt Rule's tenure, Nebraska holds a team under 100 yards total rushing. Think about that. Talk it over with your friends. Let it percolate a little bit.
That's a tough one.
And also think, how in the heck has Nebraska not had a 100-yard rusher in the last now year plus? Talk amongst your friends because I want to talk to Andrew on the 42 Degree The Source hotline. Good morning, Andrew.
Hey, what's up?
Hey,
Hi,
what's
Andrew.
going on with you? It's been a while.
I know I've been kind of not around much, but hey, I have a son. I have a son named Nick.
Hey, what a good guy.
And you know a name that's becoming really popular is Ollie. I teach, and Ollie is kind of a...
Oh, okay.
It's like Oliver, but they're just shortening it to Ollie.
Ollie Gordon?
No, just Ollie. I teach kids, and so Ollie is a popular name. And Gary is a very old person name.
Yeah, it is. That's true.
Like, when I think of Gary, I think of, like, my dad's friend, and he's 88.
Oh,
wow.
Man.
Okay.
So that's all I'm saying.
Is it
But
so?
Gary, you're a good guy.
And I'm not 88. Thank you.
Andrew, is it so old that it could come back around? Like we could retrend it.
No.
I don't know. Gary. Oh God, that's hard to swallow. That's a tough name.
Yeah, it is. It is.
It's a good thing you're a good dude, man.
I mean, I'm just being honest with you, Gary. I love you.
No. Hey, I know
You're a
that.
great
Hey,
guy.
I know there are very few of us out there. I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, how many Garys could fit on the island? There's probably only about 5 of you guys.
Yeah, one of them's a diehard listener, but hopefully maybe he's going to podcast us.
Morning, Gary.
Andrew, thanks for the phone call.
Hey, love you guys. Always a great show.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Does he really love us when he says stuff like that to you, Gary?
I'm a sick Gary Lawhern on him, who is Mr. Lunchables guy. Ollie Gordon from Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
I had an aunt, Ollie, lived in Independence, Missouri, not very far from the K. She lived on Smart Street, had this old house, but man, we would play baseball in her backyard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she was very sneaky. You know why?
Why?
She was filthy rich.
Did she have lights for the backyard?
I thought you were going to say she had a nasty curve.
Okay.
No, I loved going. We go down to Kansas City when I was growing up in Des Moines.
Yeah.
Aunt Ollie was great. I mean, she was so nice. But she lived, I would say, kind of frugal.
Okay.
In this really small house on
Yeah.
Smart Street in Independence. It was on a steep hill,
Yeah.
but it was kind of cool. And we go to Kansas City, and she was a little bit older by the time I remembered her, but she was great. And I remember her even more because it was really sad when she passed away, because normally it is.
Mm-hmm.
She was a gazillionaire.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and you would have never known it. She lived in this really modest house in Independence, Missouri.
That's how a lot of people acquire.
Yeah. So I have an affection for Ollies.
That's an interesting trend there. See,
Yeah, I've not meant like Ollie Gordon, the running back for Oklahoma State, is rare to hear that name.
Yeah, I agree. And I always would assume it would be short for Oliver. You just call them Ollie. Which Oliver itself, I think, is probably right up there with Gary's.
Yeah.
Yeah, Oliver Twist.
Actually, no, I take
Oliver
that back. I think Oliver is
Oliver Platt.
Yeah, that's true. Oliver's probably a little bit more. There's probably that name used a little more recent than Gary's. Now, the reason I say could Gary come back though, wife brought up the trend that skinny jeans apparently are coming back for women.
I got a notification on my phone. I need to redo
So you know
my
when a trend dies
notifications.
out, it can always you give it time, it can come right back around. Mom jeans did. So maybe the name Gary comes back around.
You mean skinny jeans went away?
Apparently, yeah.
I didn't know either.
Well, yeah. Remember, mom jeans were really were happening.
Oh, they're
like
still
the high waistline and everything on women. Apparently, the skinny jeans are coming back.
I don't think I looked that closely.
Oh, you didn't notice that? Oh, I noticed that. And I wasn't
You know
even being
what?
like a pervert. It
I'm
just
like
was
this.
like, what are you wearing?
If they have a good soul, I don't care what they're wearing.
Well, that's good. You're like,
I'm
did you
like,
ever
I'm
see
like
the
a
movie
fan
Shallow
of a-
Hal?
I'm like a fan of a college football team that's 2-0, so everything's good to me.
It is true. A little different than last year.
Tony
the year
Robbins talked to
before.
you. You got it all shallow howled. So all you see is their inner beauty. You don't look at trends, fashion trends.
That's why I look at Nebraska's offense.
They mean well. They've got a lot of inner beauty. So when you see them,
Great
it's like the Florida
personality.
State fast break offense.
And thank God 15 is the quarterback.
A lot of inner beauty there. And out.
Stay upright.
That's a top
Stay
10 model
upright,
right
okay.
there.
All right. I posed the question. We'll answer when we come back. More likely to happen tomorrow night. Nebraska, for the first time under Matt Rule, has a 100-yard rusher. Think about that. That's 14 games. Emmett Johnson came the closest, and he was still 16 yards away.
14 that ran the ball the way they did last year.
Or Nebraska, again, holds an opponent under 100 yards rushing. They've done it 10 times in 14 games.
Mm-hmm.
Here's one step further. Love me some Tony White. 7 times they've held opponents under 75 yards. So that's half the games that Matt Rule has been the head coach. Tony White is the coordinator, under 75 yards rushing. And remember, Nebraska is playing a team tomorrow night that will run the football. Now, Nebraska hasn't had to defend many rushing attempts in the first 2 games, but you're going to face a team that likes to run the football. I'll give you another nugget, and then we got to go to a break. But 45 first downs this year for Northern Iowa. 27 of them have been via the run. All right, we'll answer those questions when we come back with all of you. What amused you, Jimmy?
We got a tweet from Matt.
Hello, Matt.
Yeah, named my dog Aaron Hernandez. Been regretting that one.
Oh,
Might be a big Florida fan.
That's what I'm thinking.
Or Patriot fan before Netflix decided to do a special.
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm thinking. As a tight end, I mean, numbers. I guess I suppose.
Okay, so something happened, so they'd have to make the Netflix special.
Yeah, it wasn't like, oh, I didn't know this about him. In Aaron Hernandez's mind.
It's not like they were following a guy around and all of a sudden during the filming he became a murderer. It wasn't like The Sopranos.
No. That's great foresight, if so, though.
Mike Schaefer coming up top of the hour. He was at Central North last night. He's got some thoughts.
I'm just trying to imagine what if that happened.
It'd be a banger of a Netflix special.
I mean, more ways than one, yeah.
1620 The Zone. So I saw the Big East basketball schedule came out yesterday. It's the Big East. Also,
what was that?
It's the Big East. I mean, if some people
like
like
a
complaining,
sitcom.
it's one of the best conferences in all of college basketball.
Just very matter of
I got to
fact.
imagine that UConn called up Val Ackerman and said, "Don't you dare, do not even think about sending us to Omaha with all those crazy drunk people on the weekend."
It's a Tuesday.
So yeah,
blue
UConn
overalls.
is playing on
Yeah.
a Tuesday in Omaha.
Guess what price the beers will be that night for the before
Ah,
tip-off?
free.
Yeah, maybe.
Free, yeah.
Maybe.
I also saw speculation people trying to figure out with St. John's playing here on New Year's Eve, like pre New Year's Eve, where Patino would go to eat in Omaha.
Oh yeah. Oh,
We had some suggestions yesterday.
Spaghetti Works?
Yeah.
Imagine, like over the lunch hour on the 30th of December, Rick Pitino's in the corner eating by himself. You're like at the salad bar and standing next to Rick Pitino.
All of a sudden he's right behind you. Like, oh,
We're at the Olive Garden,
Oh,
168.
pardon me,
Center.
Coach. Do you want some of these bacon bits? You got to put bacon bits on your salad at the salad bar, by the way. If you don't, why are you going to the salad bar?
Noted.
We'll have a ranking of the best salad bars in Omaha.
And toppings.
That was a good July.
Drover, man.
Drover's good, but
Drover's a little chilly. That salad bar is chilled.
Brother
That ice is-
Sebastian, number one.
Keep promoting that place. I don't have
any steak in
I
it.
haven't been back for a while.
See what I did there?
Just because I don't like dark steakhouses.
See, Damon
I like to
recommended
see
that one to
myself.
me.
Do you? No, this goes back to a childhood fear of monks, isn't it?
I never really had a run-in with monks. I actually liked the show. No, mine was priests. We don't have in the Catholic Church. We don't have monks. We have
I
priests.
know you don't, but I just thought maybe you had you just happened to stroll upon a monk and didn't like him. It's the same thing with me and clowns.
Shout out Tony
When I saw Poltergeist, I was freaked out by clowns. And now my son wants to be a clown for Halloween because he thinks it's really funny.
I was freaked out by building houses on top of graveyards.
Yeah, just never ran across just a random monk
like a Montessori and said,
Never did a monk come to my house and try and sell me a vacuum or encyclopedias. So we're good. I'm good.
Did they do that?
I'm good with the monks.
They try to sell vacuums?
Always be closing.
I have no idea.
Okay.
I know that maybe the only really interaction I've ever had with a monk is I had a beer at a place called the Drunken Monk.
Okay. I remember watching a couple of old Washington Redskin football games and seeing Art Monk.
Ooh, Art Monk.
Yeah.
When he broke the record in 92.
I'm going to make a prediction that has nothing to do with tomorrow night's game in Lincoln.
Okay.
Bud Crawford's final professional fight will be at Memorial Stadium.
Oh,
it's my prediction. I know
Nice.
nothing,
Ooh.
but the final fight in Bud Crawford's career will be at Memorial Stadium.
And he'll do a tunnel walk where Matt Rule will lead him out.
That actually would be amazing.
You know, what is that? Could be a couple of years from now.
Mhm.
I think Bud Crawford's final fight, and it might be against a speed bag. To just walk off.
There's just a stationary speed bag sitting
There's
right.
still 90,000 to watch it.
But his final professional fight will be at Memorial Stadium. That's just my guess. Because you're not going to get one of the big ones. Because nobody in their right friggin' mind would come and fight Bud Crawford at Memorial Stadium with like a major belt on the line.
There are disses
And people
in the
today
world.
are not saying that Lincoln and Vegas are the same. So
Yeah.
that's
Well, there are major disses in the world, but if you are in the boxing profession and someone refers to you as a speed bag, I don't think it gets any lower than that. And I don't think you'd be the betting.
Is he good? He's a body.
This guy is a speed bag. That's pretty low, man.
He'll be like Alex Leon from Grand Island. Okay,
Scott Wolf.
The Scott Wolf?
I'm just always thinking of the guy who
Scott Wolf sounds like more like a name you'd find in St. Paul than Alex Leon.
Well, I'm always thinking of the guy who was always in the WWF like weekday matchups that would go against like Hulk Hogan or Ultimate Warrior. Like, oh, it was a Wolf, something Wolf, and he would always lose.
Former
He was
NBA
gonna be-
legend Joe Wolf.
Hey, first house show I saw ever of then WWF. Like the same guy wrestled 3 times and had 2 different names.
Nice. Yeah.
And I'm like, what am I at? One of those circuses that pop up in a parking lot at a mall.
Yep.
And like the first act is like the Fernandezes, and then it's the same family, and they're in the second act, and all of a sudden they're the Johnsons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pupalo brothers.
Yeah.
People, I've told that story before. People like call BS on me. Go to one of those circuses that they put up a tent in the mall.
Yeah, they're families.
It's like a family.
Yeah.
But they change their name from act to act.
Yeah.
Like
They got
all
the
of a sudden,
Melendez.
the ringmaster is Curtis, and by the time you get to the end, it's the same guy wearing the same outfit. All of a sudden, his name's Ed.
Like the Cabrini Circus.
Hey, people think we're dumb. We're not.
We're not.
We are actually very, very smart.
This is why I think magicians have faded, because we're onto them. We're onto their tricks.
I think magicians haven't faded away, like disappeared.
Yeah.
But the big ones have. Now we're into screwing with people's minds, like Dr. Oz.
Yeah, or
it's Dr.
like
Oz,
David,
right? That does all the little.
I'm thinking of like David Blaine.
Yeah.
Doing that stuff.
Yeah.
We're like, whoa.
Yeah. Like the separation between the magicians in this country is like the separation between Omaha Class A football teams and the rest of the state. Stick to sports.
I'm pretty sure when
when
we got to this is because he said, didn't you say, does Northern Iowa pull a rabbit out of their hat? And then it was just like, whatever happened to magicians?
They should do that at the coin toss. Here's a rabbit.
Sometimes I do feel like our attention span collectively is even worse than my
Whatever happened
son's.
to men in trench coats? All right. We've been waiting long enough. People are on bated breath.
I know.
They're like, get on with the show.
Delaying the inevitable here.
Wait till I start talking about Chinese restaurants and strip malls.
I'm here for that.
Under or overrated?
Oh,
underrated,
my God.
right? Underrated, right? Yeah, okay, thank you. Because my favorite one is in a strip mall.
Oh, and they got to be next to a Great Clips. Okay. More likely to happen tomorrow. Nebraska for the first time under Matt Rule. I actually think they will stop the game and Nate Rohr will make an announcement.
That one of these things has happened.
That Nebraska has a running back under Matt Rule that in a game has run for over 100 yards. Closest has been Emmett Johnson. Will that happen? Or for the 11th time in 15 games, Nebraska holds a team under 100 yards rushing. You've got Northern Iowa, which likes to run the football, and they're not interested in throwing the football.
Yeah,
they have a first-year starter. So they're going to run, and they're going to try and run right into Nebraska's defense, which has only given up 72 yards rushing in 2 games against a couple of spread teams.
Mm-hmm.
But now they face a true 12 personnel. Line it up. Let's go toe-to-toe. Let's see who Bud Crawford is. Let's see who Alex Leon is. What is more likely to happen, A or B?
I'm going to go with defense holds for the 11th time a team under 100 yards rushing, because I'm starting to think about, this isn't, again, getting ahead of the skis there. I'm thinking about who's going to be in the game in the second half to do one or the other. And we saw a little bit of this against UTEP, where Nebraska defensively, even with their reserves, were teeing off. I trust that side of the football and its depth more than what I would say the entire running back stable of the amount of running backs that'll be in to accumulate an individual over 100 yards. I think there's going to be some big plays. You probably get a typical, like the Emmett Johnson game, which is usually like 8 to 9 carries for 70 yards or 10 to 12 carries for 70 yards.
Mm-hmm.
I think you get that by maybe even 2. But an individual, I think it's, obviously that wouldn't shock me, but I think it's more likely the defense does it, because I trust what they will be bringing as their reserves more so than what the Nebraska stable running backs does. And I think you see the ball in the air a little bit too.
I think they will, like Northern Iowa is set up where they want to make you drive down the field. I think Nebraska will try and get explosive. Now, Joe and Jane, who've been coming to games for 45 years in Section 22, would like, a little Olivia Newton-John tomorrow. They'd like to get physical, which goes back to something I mentioned yesterday, is the, no, I'm not picking my nose. If you're watching on TV, I had an itch. It was a scratch.
That's what Jerry said too. They lost it with the model.
Yeah, I ain't looking to hook up with a model right now. I'm just trying to do a show. I think the connection, like us Nebraskans, it's tough to be connected to a flash and dash offense. But when a program says, I want to be physical, we're going to be physical, looks like they're physical, acts like they're physical, and then you have players that like, and I can't wait for this week because UNI is a downhill team. They're in 12 personnel, and they're not going to get fancy. They just want to go toe-to-toe. And you got guys that are going, man, I can't wait.
Mm-hmm.
I think that fan in the stands is like, I could get behind that.
Yeah.
I can relate more to the physical football than I can the flash and dash. So I think Nebraska will shut down Northern Iowa's running game again.
Yeah.
I'll go out on a limb. I'm going to get crazy here. Just go wild on Friday the 13th and don't look back. I'm going to say both will happen. Nebraska will have a 100-yard rusher because I think there will be a big play that will be broken from a running back. Nebraska is lacking home run hitters.
I wonder if this was an option.
But still, so you get a big 50-yard run and then you just accumulate. I actually think both will happen tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of what I thought when you asked the question. I was like, why do I have to choose?
Okay, so let's do this then, because you just gave me your answer. What's more likely, that both will happen or just one of them will happen? And I think you would probably have to lean towards both as well. Yeah, because I think between Rahmir and Dante Dowdell, from the point you're bringing up of getting an explosive play via the run game, is very, very possible. And then with the amount of time that they will be in, you're right. Yeah, you can accumulate that. If I could only choose one, though, I would say defense. I would say the defense would hold them to under 100 yards. I'm curious how many running backs we will see tomorrow. If we see more than 4, obviously it's a good game.
Well, let's do it this way. No offense to Northern Iowa. Very nice people. Okay? Cedar Falls, Eastern Iowa.
Shout out.
Ben Jacobson, really good guy. Basketball coach.
Yeah.
Mark Fraley, football coach. Been there forever.
Teachers of America.
38 of Mark Fraley's 42 years in the game of football have either been as a player, assistant, or head coach at Northern Iowa. It's an amazing stat.
It's got a lot of energy, too.
That's what they say, except to Troy Dannon. You go to Northern Iowa and you don't leave. Look at Ben Jacobson's been there for a long time.
Yeah, he has.
Football and basketball coach at a Missouri Valley Conference program have been there for a long time.
Yep.
That's a tribute to Northern Iowa.
Agreed. And the basketball years have been a little lean, too, as of late. But I never hear, and again, I haven't, not just my wife, but some friends that I've met since I've met my wife are a little more engaged with the basketball part of it, too. And none of them are ever like, man, Jake's on the hot seat. Jake's on the hot seat. They don't say that.
No. So, again, no offense to people that are traveling from Northern Iowa. They're driving along Interstate 80. They're driving by the windmills, the wind turbines, I should say. Sorry for the people in Elkhorn, Iowa.
Wind turbine, you're
They're
right.
not windmills. People in Pella, don't get at me. I'm a suburban Iowa kid.
Did you call them windmills in Urbandale?
Well, back then, though, we didn't have wind turbines yet.
Oh, okay.
So they were windmills, like Don Quixote. But now they're wind turbines, and you're driving towards Nebraska.
Deep on the bingo card today.
Don't be offended here when I ask this question. At what point will Nebraska clear the bench tomorrow night? I know now people are going to be like, oh, man, you're jinx. I ain't playing the friggin' game, okay? Yeah. I'm on the radio talking about the game.
I think it's going to be very similar to UTEP. I'm thinking 8 minutes left in the third quarter is when you're going to start seeing, oh, there's that guy. Oh, that guy. Oh, that guy.
Isn't it interesting? UTEP or Colorado, and maybe this shows a little bit to Nebraska's depth on the defensive side of the ball. Nebraska has started to rotate guys a little bit earlier in games than I would have thought. Even against Colorado in the second quarter, I mean, even before he got the second quarter, James Williams is out there. I think Wallen.
Kai Wallen was, that was the first guy I noticed too. I was like, oh, Kai Wallen. Okay.
I mean, if things go to plan and you take care of your business, and Nebraska does Nebraska, you're looking at probably the similar UTEP setup, where guys are in the game, and bigger overreaction is asking, hey, did I'm trying to think of like just a random player, X, Y, and Z, did he play? Can you look at the participation chart?
Yeah. Did AJ Rollins get in?
Again, it's all about who, by the way, has gotten in. He got in kind of early against UTEP. When he came in to play tight end.
Yep.
But this is all back to, if you want to keep momentum going, it's not a tension convention.
Right.
You know what? To be honest, people will stick around. This is my dream. This is my hope. This is my vision. This is what I think is going to happen. I don't know if all those are related. Is people tomorrow night will stick around for the light show, and then the fourth quarter will be, you might have a section to yourself.
Yeah. I'm in section 39. I won't be obstructed.
I'm just trying to be real. Or as the kids tell me, Gary, can you start to be hundred?
I'm going to be 100 with you.
Yeah.
I actually heard this.
Just please avoid like the weird things in the and when I say weird things that we've seen previously where, oh, that was an odd decision throwing the football there and that got picked. Oh, got a drive going. Oh, he fumbled in the red zone. Just odd things that happen that keep you out of the end zone, keep you off the scoreboard, and then give the other team that little bit of confidence there that they got the old KGB alligator blood hanging around. Like that's the whole thing about every game like this that I feel you've seen more times than not where that team has done that. And where, I guess most importantly, Nebraska has given them that opportunity.
Everybody's got a guy, and you can give it here after I get done posing this question. Everybody's got a guy tomorrow night that they want to see, because this is it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is the last quote-unquote dress rehearsal before the Big Ten starts.
Yeah.
And you're going to be on a short week. Fortunately, you're playing at home because they're forcing Nebraska to play a Friday game. Nebraska is using this year to say, we're done playing Friday games. We're done playing on the cock. We are going to play on the big one on Fox at 11 a.m. Seriously.
Yeah.
If Nebraska
is
Nebraska,
mm-hmm.
the Big Ten isn't saying, hey, can you take one for the team to play on Friday night? The big brands don't play on Friday night.
Yeah.
But Nebraska's playing on a Friday night, short week, so you got to keep that in mind. But this is the last dress rehearsal that is coming up here. Is when you look at this game and everybody's got a player that they're like, I just want to, man, kind of hasn't flashed, but boy, I want to see it in this game, so I'm good for next week. I'll tell you who that guy is with me. Bryce Benhart.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And I don't, you probably have a guy that you want to say, not necessarily pick to click, but you're like, you know what? I'd like to see him have a good game. It would comfort me before the Big Ten opener.
So I love the offensive line look. That's a good one. For me, it's Isaiah Naylor. From the first game, the UTEP game compared to last week, if that group collectively is upgraded, and I think there's going to be some shots taken, I want to see Isaiah Naylor stand out. That's my guy.
Okay.
Yeah. Defensively, because you had my interest, and I thought just from the matchup, just when you gave your oddly specific prediction last week of the Bullock interception, it was hard not to notice him everywhere.
Yeah.
And so now I'm kind of looking at whoever we see between Stephon Thompson or Vincent Shavers. I hope we see a lot of Vincent Shavers because I want to see him in a game like this, even as a true freshman, that he stands out if given that opportunity. Because I don't know, Stephon Thompson might get the start, but I think Vincent Shavers is going to get a lot of run there in the first half. That'd be another guy that I want to see flying around, especially in the type of attack that they're going up against in the running game.
I don't know the answer to this question. Bayor can be on the sidelines, right?
Yes.
For the first half?
Yes, because I think
they don't eject you anymore and you have to go to the locker room and you have to have
because Ty Robinson was on the sideline the first half of the Colorado
right.
game last year. I remember seeing that, and I think they made mention of it and they showed him, but then
See, I would build it up where I'd be the only guy coming through the tunnel walk to begin the second half.
Yeah.
Whole stadium goes crazy. Number 42 comes out.
Rain down the cheers. I'm back. Well, and his stock is pretty high, even with missing the first half. What he said, and then that got run as well. Oh yeah.
Give you a nugget on John Bullock when we return. Mike Schaefer's coming up after 9. Some Cruton and some Northern Iowa chatter. Because I think we might be over Colorado. Are we over Colorado?
Yeah.
Even though I want to say I maybe like them in Fort Collins.
Okay.
I mean, Nebraska threw a punch that has them staggered.
Mm-hmm.
Colorado could put them on the mat.
Yeah.
And they could go 1, 2. Or we can do wrestling where they go.
But I don't think they've been humbled this way. Even after the Oregon game, they have not been humbled like this. And they're at least he has, earlier in the week, kind of took it that way too.
I think there should be more of an in-depth discussion about the professional wrestling referees. Seems like when they, between 2 and 3 on the mat, they're a little bit slower.
Yeah, because the script says they're supposed to get up. So they're like, oh.
Jimmy, did you hear that?
Yeah, I said it.
What'd he say?
I said the script says that
that
guy's supposed to get up, so they go a little slower on the third.
It's real to me, damn it.
Oh, no.
Aw, that's cute.
You're not. On National Bald is Beautiful Day.
What a Santa Claus and the
You
Easter
know what?
Bunny
You know
have
what?
in common.
No.
You're ugly.
I wear it. What are you going to do to me? Whatever you say to me. I'm rubber.
I know you are, but what am I?
I'm rubber. You're glue. Whatever you say bounces off me and sticks to you.
Yeah, we need more of that.
We're childish.
Oh, yeah, we are.
No offense to Northern Iowa. All right, we're back with more on 1620 The Zone. All right, be careful out there, everybody. It's Friday the 13th. We'll do this again in December.
You know what's awesome about Friday the 13th, too? You're probably thinking about Halloween. You're probably thinking about Vallis because fall's just around the corner. 1620 The Zone, giving you a chance to win passes to Nebraska's favorite fall attraction, Vallis Pumpkin Patch. You can get 2024 passes to Vallis and enjoy all the fall family fun that Vallis has to offer. Either listen to Unsportsmanlike Conduct and win, or you can go to 1620thezone.com. You can also enjoy some of their newest additions, like their new rides, Freya's Egg Spinner and Tim's Runaway Grain Train. How about that?
Imagine with a night game, weather's going to be nice tomorrow. Vallis will be banging.
Yep.
Packed in there.
Hit it up on your way out to Lincoln.
You know what? That's not actually a bad idea.
Yeah.
And you can make sure that 1620 The Zone makes your life happy at Vallis.
Yeah.
You brought up John Bullock.
Sorry.
I don't want to go all over the
It's not
top.
like a bell.
That was for John Bullock.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Nebraska's defense is really good. They're going to face an offense next week that isn't. Luke Altmaier's
had good
but
numbers,
it's not,
good start. Right?
I mean, the amount of dynamic offenses that Nebraska is going to face between now and the end of October aren't real plentiful.
Yep.
So the defense, which is good, and they are good, they can be even better and then set up for stiffer tests when the Mosses and the Howards and Smiths and those are facing them. But isn't it interesting, like with the defense, the frontline defense for Nebraska? Because I looked at Ty Robinson's stat line, and there would be a solo tackle, an assisted tackle, a PBU, a TFL, a sack.
Yeah.
John Bullock, you brought him up. John Bullock, who had his best game as a Husker. John Bullock's just a football guy.
Yep.
All right. He might get drafted by the Chargers because the football guy likes football guys, and that's what John Bullock is. John Bullock's a football guy.
Call.
John Bullock's a little dude. I mean, I'm not saying little dude. He's
shorter.
Let's say he has been to Genesis more times than I have. Are they a sponsor? They should. I just gave them a shout out.
They were at one point.
They were.
Everyone was.
Yeah. I stuck in there and played basketball about a year ago.
Shout out to
a little neuter?
Yeah, there's like 2 former Creighton guys were in there playing.
Nice. How'd you do?
I sat on the sidelines.
Shot the J.
But I got to do some layups. I got in the layup drill for
got in the layup
basketball. Okay.
They let you be in the layup.
So, but John is, he's built.
Yeah.
And he's a great athlete. I loved him at prep. I thought, why is Nebraska not recruit him? But that's past. He's in the mix. But he had a line, 5 tackles, 2 tackles for losses, quarterback hurry, PBU. Like everybody on that defense is checking the box. They all get an opportunity to get into a category.
Yep.
I don't know if that, I might be reaching. I don't know if that means anything. And that's the nerd part in me. But I think that's a good sign.
Yeah. I hear you saying, like, you don't look at maybe like a Mekhi Bear who leads the team in tackles and say he's just overwhelming. Then there's a bunch of people that are just kind of behind him, that everybody's right around the 11 to 7 to 6 tackles, but you've got TFLs in the mix. You've got either a sack, you got a pass breakup, whatever it might be. And you really go from 1 through like 13, where, I mean, even a guy like Ramir Stewart has got himself a interception, So you go all the way down. And this is why it kind of goes back to that question about how you feel about either, if you only can get one option of choosing defense holding Northern Iowa under 100 yards of rushing, or a Nebraska individual rushing for over 100 yards. You just look at the depth and the guys that have already gotten some action, but also guys that have gotten early in the rush, like a Kai Wallen. I think that was a great example too. That competitive culture on that side of the football, I mean, it's no joke. It's the real deal right now.
Mike Schaefer will join us. He's got some thoughts. He was in Lincoln, or in Omaha last night. He's in Lincoln right now. He was in Omaha last night to check out North Central. Nebraska will have another list of players that will be on campus for recruiting visits. We'll get his thoughts on Christian Jones committing, who could be next, and what Nebraska does against Northern Iowa tomorrow night. Plus, Matt Verzal stops by. Just gonna let everybody know I'm preparing you. Verz is going to be on the Northern Iowa sidelines. He'll join us coming up at 9:20. He will explain it. He already has. But it's kind of cool why he is going to be on the Northern Iowa sideline tomorrow night. That's to come in the last hour on a Football Friday Fiesta on 1620 The Zone. All right, our friend from Husker 24/7, Mike Schaefer, joins us now on this beautiful Friday morning in Omaha, America. Good morning.
Good morning, Omaha, America.
Okay.
Haven't you heard?
You're waking up in Lincoln, so we'll just say Nebraska, America.
That worked. It wasn't. It had nothing to do with me being in Lincoln. I just I hadn't heard Omaha, America in a while, so
Okay.
was exclaiming about that.
You know where I took that from? The late Adrian Fiala, when he would do his monologue at the beginning of the radio broadcast, when he was the analyst, he would say, "From Lincoln, America," and I thought that's unique.
Yeah, I like it.
Anytown, USA.
I might steal it.
No. You were at North Central last night with Matt Rule and Terrence Knighton. You guys drove separately. What stood out in your observations of a lot of talent, a lot of young talent on both sidelines?
Yeah, I mean, I want to start with this, and I sent you the text last night. Darian Jones, who I had been told about the week before when I ran into Steve Warren in Columbus watching his son Braylon Warren play. His older brother Donovan Jones was a Warren Academy guy that Nebraska offered at their Friday Night Lights camp in 2023, and he was kind of, I don't want to say plucked from obscurity, but a little bit plucked from obscurity. I didn't know much about Donovan Jones at all, and then I left the year thinking he was easily one of the top players in the state, one of the more effortless athletes that I've seen, that can play defensive back and wide receiver, two positions that, the state of Nebraska doesn't always produce at a super high level. And then here's his younger brother, Darian Jones, who had 2 touchdowns last night that combined for 100 yards. He had more than 100 yards receiving. He looks like he glides when he runs. I mean, in a game full of really talented players that features a guy in Torrey Pittman that is, a top 20 player in the country by 24/7 Sports for the 2027 class. Kylan Haney, who has people dreaming of the old Omaha Central running back pipeline. You had Tyson Terry, who was just terrorizing players, and is the primary reason that Matt Rule was there on Thursday night. And yet Darian Jones was the guy that kind of stole the show for me. I mean, he was fantastic. And some of it, sometimes you get really locked in when you didn't know of someone. I had seen all of those other guys before. But Darian was terrific. Like I said, he had the 2 touchdowns. He's a very fluid, smooth athlete. But yeah, I mean, all those other guys I mentioned all showed out. I mean, Torrey Pittman had an exceptional interception. Kylan Haney finished with a touchdown run. He had a big run to start the game. Kind of struggle there for Central in between. And then Tyson Terry was sort of dominant throughout. I mean, and I'm sure there's other people I missed. Max Clark is a linebacker I know Nebraska's keeping an eye on. He was visible throughout. There's a lot of talent in that game. It was a choppy, kind of ugly game for much of it, but a lot of individual talent on the field last night.
Shafe, the younger players, you're pointing out some of them, and then when you look at some of the other high schools that have sophomores or juniors that are starting to make their mark and get noticed, especially in the skill position, or if we're talking about defensive backs too, I know there's going to be physically room for them to grow, but is it when they look ready-made? What jumps out? Is it just the twitchiness, the speed, just the overall skill? What has jumped out to you when you see a lot of these younger players?
I mean, I think a lot of it to me is just how well trained some of them are as athletes already. I think it speaks to having places like Warren Academy and all the different personal trainers around Omaha and the other communities. And sometimes you would see Nebraska take a guy just based off of their raw ability. And some of these guys have tremendous raw ability, but they're also really instinctual or smart football players that you can tell are, not just getting by off of just being a better athlete than who's lining up across from them, but they've learned how to use some of that athleticism. They've taken some of the stuff away from the various Huskers that have hung around in the communities, or former Huskers, I should say, that have hung around in the communities and now are teaching and letting these guys know what to look for and what to do. I mean, in the case of Darian Jones, who, like I said, I keep kind of raving about, a lot of it was just the effortless athleticism. He would catch the ball, and his first step was so fast, like right after catching it, he had two central defenders colliding as they were trying to converge on tackling. I mean, he was gliding on the field last night. I mean, and some of that you can't teach. That's just raw athleticism. And there's a lot of it in Nebraska that maybe goes unnoticed a little bit. And so I look at what Matt Rule has in front of him for 2026, 2027, 2028, and beyond. And I think they're pretty excited about what's here locally, in addition to what they're going to have to go get nationally. The disappointing thing, and there's a couple guys I didn't mention that I think without the 105-man limit, Nebraska might have pushed really hard to walk on, and not necessarily a blue shirt fashion, but to walk on and see if they could eventually be scholarship guys. Ike Ackerman and Elijah Wayne are two guys that I think Nebraska's coaching staff likes a lot. They can't necessarily pull the trigger on offers. They have deep defensive line rooms as it is.
Mm-hmm.
But those are two guys that wouldn't shock me if they just happened to show up at Nebraska's postgraduate camp in a year or two and sort of found their way back. I mean, they go on somewhere else and they're really successful. Elijah Wayne's committed to South Dakota State and Ackerman's committed to Northwest Missouri. But those are good players too. There's a lot of good football happening or good football development happening in the state of Nebraska that the big program is going to benefit from when they get their opportunity to put their hands on some of these guys.
Yeah, I'm a big Isaac Ackerman fan. He had a monster night last night.
He punted the ball. I don't know if you could see this in the broadcast. There was a bad snap. The ball's rolling away. It's by Central's goal line.
At the 2-yard line.
He picks it up. This is right in front of Matt Rule, who I think was as stunned by this as he was the Torrey Pittman interception. He picks it up and punts it left-footed. He's right-footed. Punts it left-footed while people are bearing down on him. He even had to roll a little bit to the left. And he still kicks it like 40 yards.
Holy hell.
With a good spiral on the punt. Jesus. And then the next punt that he has, he drops at the 2-yard line and just booms it. I mean, this is a guy that's a 6'4", effortless dunker. He's a defensive end by trade, could play tight end. He's just a freak athlete. There's a reason Nebraska was super enamored of Ike Ackerman.
Christian Jones, you've written and talked about his commitment. It came through earlier this week. Him committing, and he wanted to see Nebraska up close. They made Colorado tap out, and he said, I want to be part of that. I think we all then go, okay, what's next? Is this a start of what Saturday night could bring with the amount of prospects that they had here? What is next now after Christian Jones is part of the mix?
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of the last big in-state guy for 2025. And so I think it kind of the ball moves forward to 2026. And for me, Jace Reynolds comes to mind at Elkhorn North. And then I tweeted about this yesterday, or I think it was yesterday. It might have been 2 days ago. I think the best player in the state for 2026 is Isaac Jensen. And I think Isaac Jensen is every bit as good as all these other great tight ends that are now playing Power 4 football throughout the college football landscape. Like I think Isaac Jensen's right there with Thomas Fedoni and Carter Nelson and Ben Bramer and his own teammate who's a senior going to Florida State next year and Chase Lofton. The McIntyre kid who went to Oklahoma and Cade Helms. Like Nebraska's had so many good tight ends. And I think Isaac Jensen is every bit as good and maybe even in some ways better than some of those guys. He is going to be a massive target, I think, for Nebraska in 2026. They have a deep tight end room, but they want to keep adding that talent to it. And I think he's one of those guys that you want to walk away with. And so you have him. And then there's a bunch of players in the Metro that they're keeping their eye on, to kind of see how things move forward. They don't have as many offers out in the 2026 class as they maybe even do in 2027, or what they're keeping their eye on beyond that. But I think that we could see some late season offers based off of some film for some of these juniors.
Chase Lofton, we know, is committed to Florida State, but is that something to continue to keep your eye on, that Nebraska tries to get back in the mix or is already back in the mix?
I mean, I think that it's always kind of a, hey, if Nebraska rips off 7 straight wins before they head to Ohio State, you're going to keep that phone line open. I don't know that Chase Lofton necessarily looks at the 0-2 start at Florida State and thinks, well, I got to see what my opportunities are in Nebraska. Sure. And I don't know Nebraska looks at it like, hey, we have to take him. You know, because like I said, they have a deep tight end room. I think Chase Austin's really good. He's proven it every night with Millard South. That move might be something that took a really good Millard South team and made it great. So it's certainly worth watching. I talked to Chase briefly last week before the Colorado game. He said he wasn't visiting Nebraska. He didn't really give an indication that he's been talking a lot with Nebraska. I think there's just a chance he goes to Florida State and everything plays out as it is currently.
2 games into his career, Dylan Raiola, Shafe, is he making the situation a better situation on offense, or is the situation that he came into making him a better quarterback through just 2 games?
I think it's got to be both, but I think he enhances Nebraska's ability to play a certain style of football. I mean, they want to play through their defense. I don't think there's any real shock with that, but they also want an offense that can be dangerous too. I mean, you have that video or the comment from Matt Rule where, you know, they feel like their wide receivers, their passing game could murder. You don't really say that unless you feel like you've got the ability with both the wide receiver and a quarterback to really be dynamic there. They haven't shown that yet, but that doesn't mean it isn't possible in the arsenal, or that, you know, as you said, he's played 2 games. Sometimes it feels like Dylan Raiola has been here forever, but he's only played 2 games. I mean, the best is definitely yet to come with him. But what we've already seen is someone who can drive the vehicle. He can parallel park. He can get you in and out of tight situations. He can make the right reads at the right time. I mean, he's doing a really nice job, you know, to keep the car analogy going, keeping you on the road and letting the defense, you know, kind of dictate the terms of the entire game. I think that's going to happen again this weekend. I think Nebraska's defense is going to have a really nice game against a kind of bad offensive FCS team. And so, you know, the opportunity there is for Nebraska to pile up a bunch of points offensively. I wouldn't be surprised if we see them kind of focus on the running game a little bit. And, you know, I don't look for them to just score 77 points like they're Indiana playing Western Illinois. So it's an interesting situation because I keep coming out of how Nebraska looks right now like they'd be the best version of a Big Ten West football team that we've seen in a long time. Before people scoff at that, you know, Iowa went undefeated. That was probably your best version of a Big Ten West team in 2015. I think Nebraska can absolutely be that. Now, can that translate to wins against USC and Ohio State? And can you avoid the bumps in the road? That remains to be seen.
Is this a game, Shafe, that we go from Dylan Raiola, the good decision maker, dare I even say the game manager, to, okay, now that next step is a little bit more the playmaker? And I'm not talking about all of a sudden he's just taking off freelancing with his legs, but being able to let it loose a little bit. And do you think he'll have that opportunity to do that?
I think that's twofold. I think the coaching staff would tell you he's had that opportunity and guys haven't come up with catches. You've had Isaiah Nair drop the ball on the end zone line. Jalen Lloyd is right off the fingertips in that Colorado game. It's a good ball to Thomas Fidone when there's passing interference. So it's not that he hasn't thrown it downfield. It just hasn't resulted necessarily in the completion for whatever reason. But I think the coaching staff would tell you that's there. Like they're not reining that in necessarily. Now, second half, they didn't look to go downfield. They very much, I felt like, wanted to limit the exposure that Dylan Raiola was going to have in terms of hits and everything else. And so they just wanted to get that game over with. And so I think they kept a lot of things around the line of scrimmage, obviously ran the ball a little bit there. So I don't know that this is the game where you're going to see it, but maybe that Illinois game. You know, that's a good defense. That's when you're probably going to need a little extra. That's the best defensive team Nebraska will have played in the first 4 weeks. So I look at next Friday as if you want sort of the full Dylan Raiola arrival, that first Big Ten game, which could have 2 ranked teams on it on a Friday night in Memorial Stadium, another night atmosphere. I mean, that might be where you really get to see what this kid is.
If Nebraska does Nebraska tomorrow night, what's the score look like?
I don't think they're just going to blow them out because I think in some ways, I think Nebraska is going to shorten the games themselves. So I have a shutout. First shutout since 2009. Last shutout was the Holiday Bowl against Arizona. I have Nebraska winning 38-0. And a very workmanlike, almost boring performance in a way, which is hard to imagine a shutout being boring. But I just don't. I'm not looking for them to just go win this game 56-7 or whatever, right? I think it'll be a workmanlike opportunity for them to get better in different ways. And and just get off the field with no injuries. I think that's the goal this weekend.
That'd be a lot better than your simulation, man. Come on, you need to step it up.
Well,
man, you guys, jeez.
FCS Northwest really gave Dylan Raiola a problem. Virtual Dylan Raiola has not been as clean as real Dylan Raiola. What are we doing, EA?
Well, they were throwing the ball out more than I think Northern Iowa will, but yeah, man.
I think Northern Iowa is going to have to throw, and I think they're going to find that to be a difficult challenge.
I agree. Shafe, thanks. Good seeing you last night. We'll see you tomorrow.
All right, guys. Have a good one.
That's Mike Schaefer. 42-10 is my prediction.
I'm actually going. I'm going a little bit high scoring in this one too. I'm going 52-7.
All right, Lee Sterling.
You didn't say who.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God!
Today, I would just go out on a limb and say there are some deep-rooted problems in the Nebraska football program. They're going to be 52-7 tomorrow.
If that happens, I might take the day off. No, actually, I'd be here.
You got 52-7.
Yep.
I got 37-6 in favor of the Big Red.
I'm covered.
They're gonna and your question earlier.
Scorigami right there.
I got both.
Well, I got 6, I guess. 37.
You got no faith in Alvano.
No, they're going to get 3 field goals.
I got one.
Oh, okay.
I got one. I got one field goal. One big one.
No. Yeah.
All right. Coming up next, Connor Stallions. Nebraska's version will join us next. It's Matt Virzel at 1620 The Zone.
All right, Friday mornings with Matt. Good morning.
Morning, boys. How we doing?
Good. Hey, I've had to protect your character because I mentioned that you'll be on the sidelines, on the Northern Iowa sidelines, and people are wondering, are you working for Purdue, Rutgers, or Illinois tomorrow night? So you've said it before, and for people that don't know, this is actually kind of a cool deal for you because one of your own is going to be on display for Northern Iowa.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool deal. Blake Anderson, a kid that played for us at Set, and I had called and said, "Hey, this kid is 6'4", 275. We just won a state championship running over one of your recruits for 275 yards, 5 touchdowns. You might want to take a peek." And the head coach at the time told me I probably need to mind my own business. They had it under control. But okay, I said, do you realize when you don't talk to the in-state kids and some of the other schools don't want to talk to the in-state kids, and you may want to take another look? He said, we got it. Mind your business. I was like, okay. But no, Blake's a good kid. He's grown a little bit more. I think he's about 6'5", 6'6", 295, 300 now. So it will be fun. I'm excited. I'm going to go tailgate with his parents. So I got a funny shirt made. Well, I think it's funny. His mama asked me, said, "Hey, big dog, what color are you going to wear?" And I said, "I'm wearing black." I said, because I got everybody covered that way. So but no, it'll be fun. It'll be good to see him, and he's excited, and it'll be a cool thing. It'll be weird. I mean, first time ever, so we'll see what happens.
Good parents, Tom and Carrie, 2-time Super Stater. He's a captain over at Scott. I think it's really, really cool that you'll get to see him play in Memorial Stadium. I know you wanted him on the other sideline, but he's off to a great start. They got an All-American at FCS on that offensive line, so I'm looking forward to seeing him as well. He's actually gotten a little bit bigger since the last time he played here when he played for you.
Yeah. The other thing too, I killed 2 birds with 1 stone because there's a team that will get acknowledged for their winning of the Big Ten championship tournament. So I'll get to see my nephew.
Oh, nice. All right.
Hey, by the way,
and I'll get to see my other nephew tonight.
That's right. They're playing at Central against Prep Cash. Hey, by the way, we had a planted question for Max when he met the media 2 weeks or last week. Who is a better athlete, your uncle or your dad? And of course, he did the smart thing and he said, "My mom."
Yeah, that boy, he knows. Well, and the worst part is he's not wrong.
Yeah. Hey, okay, and with seeing Blake tomorrow, I know you never make any of this about yourself, but that's got to be pretty rewarding though to see guys competing in that stadium or any stadium at the collegiate level that you've had an impact on. I don't know what the amount of guys are for you, but when you get to see them actually in the action, the game that you've played at that level too, what kind of goes through your mind?
It reinforces some things. When you get one, you just kind of know, and so you're looking at it like, wow, okay, this kid has what they're going to need, what they want. So all you are is making sure you get him in the best position to succeed at your level. Okay. Don't overwhelm him. Don't give him too much. And as you grow, you kind of got to be aware and say, okay, I'm going to give him this now. Once he masters this, then we'll move on to the next thing, right? Then we'll move on to providing him some other bit of information once he's mastered this. So much anymore, boys, I'll be honest with you, it's not football. It's making sure the kids that you coach have an out. They know that they have somebody they can rely on. That I don't want anything from you. I just want to make sure I got you in the best spot to go succeed in life. And if that's life in football, great. If life in just life, that's awesome too. Like we have just as much fun with the boys that come back that have joined fraternities and tell me stories that I probably don't need to hear, or the guys that are going to go play in Memorial Stadium on a Saturday. So
it's all fun and it's all good. It will be. I don't know how I'm going to react. I've thought about it, and I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. So it'll be. I'm sure. If you see me peel off, we got emotional, which happened. But if I'm just going to take it in, and like I said, a Husker hangover. I hope Nebraska wins, and I hope Blake Anderson's the player of the game.
That'd be cool. That'd be the best of both worlds.
Yeah. Hey, you see the drunkest guy in Lincoln after that.
Well, you know what? You'd be a week late because I heard there were a lot of them from your former team at Brewski's, of all places.
I know.
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah.
we had to make a business trip, so.
Yeah. Well, you had, you know what? It's good to know that a lineman picked up the tab for all the fellas. Matt Verzal joining us. Hey, why, going back to Saturday night, it can't all just be because Ty Robinson is a beast, but why was Nebraska so dominant on the line of scrimmage with the defensive line against that Colorado offensive line?
I think because they were able to stay fresh. They have something, boss, we haven't had in quite a while. They have depth. Like they have guys that they can sub in that they feel comfortable with to play, and they don't hesitate to put them in. And they just it's a luxury, right? Like 300-pound plus guys don't need to be out there running, especially defensively. It's a different energy exertion. Okay, it's a different way to go at it. So when you get them the chance to get a break, and then they can stay fresh, and like I talked about, like if you watch them, they just walk the pocket back to Shedeur Sanders. They did not let him get outside. He did not like it, and away they went. I mean, it was awesome. Like it was, as far as it went, I just a cool sense of pride for those guys to have everything kind of come to fruition, and they get to just succeed. It was awesome to see. And then there's the pure joy and emotion, and they kept their cool, and Colorado was talking, and it was just great. But yeah, being fresh, that's what you can get with those two big monsters, because now they can rotate guys in.
Verse on the flip side of Nebraska's offensive line, especially with the ability to run violently, but the guys up front too, what you saw in the first half compared to what in the second half, where they were getting stuffed a little bit on first down. I know that's been a little bit of the conversation this week of, what happened in the second half? Was it play calling? Was it conservative? Was it just, not executing? Did you anything stand out to you between the two halves of what was going on up front?
I'm going to say quite a bit on here. Old habits die hard. I mean, they just do. There's no two ways around it. It is what it is. I mean, you want a team, and this involves, I'm going to say this too, because I feel they are this, and Rules and his crew have done a good job of building that into a team setup. Okay, so now the coaches are involved in it too. They're just as much to question. But when you're up 28, I learned this in high school. You're up 28, you haven't won until you score 28 more. And it's a mindset, it's a mentality. There are no nice guys in the game of football. It's a dog mentality. Probably a better phrase, it's a wolf mentality, because wolves eat dogs. But you got to have a dude calling plays. It's like, hey, it's 0-0. Mm-hmm. You could ask any kid I've ever coached, if we're up at halftime, I come in, the first thing I say is, it is 0-0. That is over. That does not exist anymore. Get it out of your mind. You need to go win this half, and you need to do it the same way you did that half. Yeah. And I think there was a bit of a feeling of, we got this. And so it's human nature, but football's not a natural game. So they will evolve into a different mindset as that progresses on, because if I'm a coach in that, if I'm Matt Rule, I am so happy. Number one, that we won the game. Mm-hmm. Number two, that we didn't have the best second half, because I got coaching points galore. Yep. I have a page of information that we need to fix for the next week. Yes, you won a big one. Congratulations. But look at all this stuff we got to get better at. Yeah. And then now, like, that's I thought I thought the calls changed. I thought the attitude changed. I also think as you go through this, Raiola, a couple more games in, if that happens again, you're going to see him light people up. You're going to see him tell them, "Hey, this is not acceptable. This is not how we do this. This is not what's happening."
Yeah. It's just a difference with the person. It all starts at the top. I'm absolutely with you. Hey, enjoy tomorrow. We'll catch up because I think we need to do some. We might have some TV to do together here in the next couple of weeks.
Okay. Yeah. Let me know.
All right. Thanks, Furs.
Bye, buddy.
And so Matt Furzall. And Blake Anderson was a captain at Scott, state champion, 2 times All-Stater. Now at Northern Iowa, they got a good offensive line. I think it's a good test for Nebraska because Northern Iowa will just say, "Hey, we're going to run the football."
Mm-hmm.
They're going to run a lot of 12 personnel, and they're not really interested in throwing it. The running back that they're going to rely on the most, Edwards, is about 6'3", 240. So he's a bowling ball.
Yeah,
and they're gonna run right into the heart of Nebraska's defense. They're not going to try and be fancy. They're going to try and win on one-on-one. You'll see Nash play a little bit more. People were asking. I heard a call into the Big Red Overreaction. Hey, it didn't seem like Nash was out there. Was he hurt? I just think because Colorado was going to throw it so much, Ty was a better option than Nash.
Yeah.
I mean, Nash still played a bit, but he'll play his regular amount. But they're playing a lot of guys on defense. It doesn't matter what the score is. Because they're gonna turn it over next year.
Yeah.
But you haven't really noticed like a drop off.
No, and I noticed that
from 1 to 2 on defense, which is a huge tribute to the coaches they have over there, and then the D word. You're big on the D. You like the development.
Yeah. The 2 things right out of the gate last year that stood out to me first and foremost was tackling and the way that they swarmed the football. And there's not a lot of missed tackles, like right out of the gate in that Minnesota game. But then I just remember when they were rotating in, you started seeing guys like Cam Lenhart. You started seeing guys like Riley Van Poppel as the season progressed. Some guys were nursing injuries too. But that was you said the key thing there when it came to watching that defensive line. And you're still seeing that. It was very evident on Saturday. Is the unit as a whole function basically the exact same, but you'd see different numbers, especially up front. So when everybody's giving praise to being able to get home with 3 or 4 down linemen, yeah, it was true, but you'd see different numbers. Like, oh, well, it was Ty and it was Jamari Butler, it was Nash. We're like, well, actually, it was other guys too that were getting there. And so that to me continues to be so impressive because that is the most important thing. As fun as, and as much as we don't want to jump ahead to next year because we want to enjoy what this season could be, you do have to start really taking inventory of those guys who are going to have more snaps next year because you're now ushering in, that a lot of those guys I just mentioned, like the Riley Van Poppels, the Cam Lenharts, Prince Wells, and those guys are going to have an even bigger role. And then who's going to be behind those guys? Who the linebacker core is going to look like too. So all of that has been so impressive, and it does go back to where you left off right there with development, and that continues to be such a strength. But watching them function, that's why I think tomorrow, even in the fourth quarter, if this thing goes fourth quarter, I was in the East Coast there.
I like it.
The way that if this game goes the way we think it will, and you have a lot of those reserves in, and again we saw a little bit of the UTEP, it doesn't really function different. All those guys are just swarming to the football. They know their job. They know their assignment. It's we just haven't seen it in a long time. It's just really, really refreshing to see.
When we come back, we'll wrap the show. Final thoughts from all 3 of us. Turn over to the crossover on a Football Friday Fiesta, Nebraska, Northern Iowa tomorrow night. Big Red reaction afterwards. Things go according to plan. Boom, boom, boom. 45-minute show, in and out.
Just get those reads in.
All-time record because the Cubs were in the NLCS.
Yeah.
We went 53 minutes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You got it in under an hour.
Bishop and who has Big Red Overreaction tomorrow night?
I think it's Jimmy Allen.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Jimmy hasn't done a Big Red Overreaction. Jimmy may want to go for 2 hours.
He might.
Bishop be like,
Bishop,
all right, homie. Yeah. Homie, don't play.
It's night. It's a night game.
Final thoughts coming up next. Mornings with Sharp and Handley and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone. All right, wrapping on a Friday. Week from today, this will be a game day.
This will be a pregame
Let's
show.
go.
Yeah, this will be a pregame show.
We'll start our pregame coverage at 6
If
a.m.
Nebraska wins tomorrow night, they're 3-0, first time since 16. If Illinois wins tomorrow, they will be 3-0 for the first time since 2013.
Yep.
Game would have a lot of interest. And could it be ranked unranked? Hasn't happened for a long time. The two teams have played at Memorial Stadium as a ranked team. Could happen.
Illinois is getting some votes.
Yeah, I mean, it's good.
They'll win tomorrow.
They're not playing anybody that's
No.
going to bump them.
No.
We can hope. We can pray. Well, maybe not pray. I don't want to go there.
Yeah, that's Notre Dame.
Let's just keep the hope alive.
Actually, Illinois in the latest AP had the next most votes. So they're 26.
Whoa. Just if you did not hear me earlier, we do live in a world where Nebraska and Iowa State are ranked and Iowa is not.
It's true.
And people are upset at Kirk Ferentz because they can't find a quarterback.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's nothing new right now with the quarterback situation. Dare we forget Deke, the big Deke?
Well, Iowa had that run of like the Stanzies and the Beathards where they had good quarterbacks.
Serviceable.
But now, serviceable, but guys that, got a shot in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Now they've been on a run of what is going on with the quarterback position in Iowa.
I got to admit, as much as there's two names now that I will mention on this program where I was way off. Tyreek Johnson being one of them. Cade McNamara. I thought Cade McNamara would be a perfect Iowa quarterback. Like the guys you mentioned. Now, Beathard had a little bit more playmaking ability in him, but like a Stanzi, those types of guys that are the game manager. Who said it last week? The game manager's manager? I like that one. Yeah. But guys that are not, the guys that are not going to hurt you at all. They're going to run the offense. They'll make the play occasionally because that's what he was at Michigan. Yeah. It's absolutely what he was at Michigan. I'm stunned, and maybe the injuries has a lot to do with this. I'm just stunned it hasn't worked out.
All right, let's do a little rapid fire here. Vibe in Madison tomorrow night will be after they played. It won't be like they're not going to still be playing at night. If they are, there's weather.
Very somber.
Okay.
Yeah, very somber.
It won't be somber. It'll be very drunk, but they'll be upset because they'll be drunk.
Enough
Reality
to cover?
check.
Is it just enough to cover in Madison tomorrow?
If they cover, it's a backdoor cover. I don't think.
I think
this
Alabama covers.
Yeah, I think Bama. I would say Bama wins 38-20.
I got 31-13, so we got the same type deal. They'll still jump around, so there's that.
They will, and Bama will be more into it than Wisconsin players will be.
Really?
Yeah,
they've never jumped around.
There's
before.
nothing about Wisconsin that has impressed me at all right now. And that's not to say I think Alabama's world beaters right now, but I watched their opener that Friday night, and good Lord, that was so ugly.
Yeah,
and it wasn't much better last week.
That's why I keep saying the vibe in Madison. Just I don't know. Luke Fickell era is kind of like just hasn't.
Yeah.
Like the plane is like stopped on the taxiway. They haven't taken off yet. Oregon, who has played with their food.
Civil
Don't
War.
advocate that, kids. Do they get caught? Their rush defense is not what I thought it was going to be. Oregon State can run the ball. It's the Civil War held in the Pacific Northwest, which I looked at my history book. That's not where the Civil War occurred. Does Oregon get caught tomorrow?
Is it in Corvallis?
It is, yeah. I'm going to give Oregon the benefit here.
All right, you think Oregon will be Oregon?
I think Oregon is Oregon tomorrow. I think between Jordan James and Dylan Gabriel, I think they go off.
I really would love to say that the Beavers are going to strike one for the little guy, but I do think the Ducks are going to finally wake up and do their thing.
I disagree with what you just said. I think you just wanted to say the word beaver.
I mean,
could have said LSU. Could have said the Fighting Mike Riley's, but you decided to go with the Beavers.
They're the Beavers, the big brown Beavers.
I mean, that is Trent Bray, the head coach.
Yeah, I like Oregon this one.
They'll play well. They really will.
And then it is my belief that tomorrow night in Fort Collins, I feel like now about going to Reese Davis mode. I think tomorrow night's game is bigger for Deion Sanders than the game that was played this past Saturday.
I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the season right here.
The line in the sand. It's all the cliches.
Yeah.
No holding back.
I mean, the best football program in the best Division I football program in the state. The best FBS program. Are they ever going to go back to Division I and
Division 1AA? Oh, I loved 1AA.
Like Northern Iowa becoming here, they're 1AA team. Now we got to go. They're an FCS.
People still say 1AA, which I appreciate.
Is Air Force, but Colorado and Colorado State are playing.
Shout out Troy
in
Calhoun.
Fort Collins. Talked about it yesterday. They're going to be sky high. It has been one side talking most of the trash all week. It has not been Colorado. This is a bigger game for Deion Sanders than it was in Lincoln on a lesser stage.
Mm-hmm.
I think Colorado wins tomorrow.
Well, like we were saying earlier, because they have to.
Yeah, my issue is not Colorado getting beat, and it is interesting for a team that lost to them last year, and they still lost. They put up a good show on the road last year. Colorado State is talking a lot of trash. This is going to be interesting more than anything to watch Colorado, who was really humbled, and a lot of their key faces have admitted to such. What that actually is. Is this already a defeated program, or is this maybe the best thing that happened to Colorado to try to still get to 6 wins this year is what happened in Lincoln? Their response is going to be interesting. I as simple as this, I'm just going to go where the talent is, and that is still on the Colorado
That's
side,
fair.
even with Shiloh Sanders out. But I think it's an entertaining game.
Very entertaining. And just to be different, but also I like chaos, I'm going to go with the Rams to win 37-34 in a hell of a game. Now, if CU ends up winning, the trash talking will flip and the Buffs will be back.
If that happens, though, if Colorado State wins
remember,
that
Colorado is on national TV on Big Fox next week.
Yep.
And Colorado rarely goes
Against
to Fort
Baylor.
Collins,
Yeah.
so this is a big deal.
Yeah. I mean, this literally, if for some reason they let Nebraska beat them twice and Colorado State gets it and stomps on them, I mean, maybe 3 wins this season.
Oddly specific prediction. I tried a different voice. Nebraska will block a field goal tomorrow for the second straight game.
Tomorrow's going to be the night that Ja'Cory Barney House has won.
I'm just going to continue
In what way will he do it?
Kickoff return.
Okay.
I'll go with the defensive score then.
I might be more prone to a little jet pop pass.
Okay. Well, I think that option will be there. But
All
yeah,
right.
I'm going to
I
go.
like where you're going.
I want to go with the special teams on this one.
You've been sticking to that.
Yep.
I'm going to stick with a defensive touchdown until I get one.
Ooh, will it be a fat guy or a skinny guy?
I want a fat guy. We want a fat guy touchdown, please. Running team
We had
fumble.
a skinny guy last week.
Yeah, you got one last week.
I know I got one last week, but you know what I want to see.
Scoop and scope.
Number of players that'll play tomorrow for Nebraska.
We'll go with 107.
We're going to go with 327 because that's how it's going to be. Everyone's getting in tomorrow.
It was 107 in UTEP, right?
I think they'd have to go find guys, but I get what
I mean,
you're
the
saying.
Pretty sure they maxed it. So yeah, I'll go with 107.
No, a lot of guys will get in tomorrow night.
94 play tomorrow.
Oh, they're not honoring the 94 team tomorrow. Why are you going to
Still a lot of guys.
Yeah, it is.
Well, because I think some guys that are third and fourth stringers, they need reps.
Yeah.
So they will play a little bit more.
Yeah.
All right.
We got some good ones on the stream, by the way.
Enjoy. Do we have time here?
Just real quickly, Raiola, 300 yards passing from Mike. And we have had a safety pick 6 tomorrow. There's a scoop and score, and the defense completes the cycle.
Oh, the cycle. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Enjoy the football this weekend. If you are out, our Cox game tonight is Millard North against Papio South. John Butler will be representing Nebraska. Caden Vermoss, Pierce Mooberry, committed to Nebraska at Millard North. But good high school games. Have fun at homecoming.
Yeah. Hastings, you don't want none. You don't want none.
Well, you have turned on Millard West. Wait till I tell Coach Peterson. You're all in on Bennington.
Well, when's their homecoming?
Jimmy, enjoy KU. Everybody enjoy the football. Live, laugh, punt. Make memories. Have a great time this weekend. Be safe. And we will talk to you. John and Jimmy will talk to you on Big Red Overreaction after the 6:30 kick tomorrow night in Lincoln, where Nebraska tries to get to 3-0. And then banger, it's on to the Big Ten. We'll talk to you again on Monday at 6. Crossovers coming up next. Have a great weekend.